Old habits misread. Yes, Ms. McDonald.
I call Shayne Mallard.
Yes, before that happens, can I just raise one matter from the
I'm sorry.
transcript?
Yeah.
It's at 877. The passage starts at line 32, the end of that page. This was the start of a topic that was later dealt with in private session. I just wonder whether this portion should be redacted from the public version of the transcript.
It seems to be traversing the topic that led you to make that order.
All right. Unless anyone wants to be heard against it, what I propose to do is make an order pursuant to section 12B of the Royal Commissions Act that passage of the transcript, being 877 lines 32 to 47, not be published, and it can just be redacted in the public version of the transcript. Convenient?
Yes.
I'll make that direction.
This junction mentioned my
Yes.
appearance. I understand authorisation has been permitted for my appearance on behalf of Mr Mallard. Gallagher.
Yes, leave is granted for that purpose. Thank you. Any other administrative matters?
No. Thank you.
Yes. Mr Mallard?
Yes.
Come forward. Thank you, Mr Mallard. You wish to take an oath or an affirmation?
Affirmation,
Right.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Do you solemnly and sincerely swear that the statement you give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but?
So
Say I do.
I do.
Yes, Ms.
Please state your full name.
Maxwell Shayne Mallard.
You're known as Shayne Mallard.
Yes, I go by my middle name.
Your current occupation?
Good question. I'm currently unemployed.
Eventually looking for further work? You're not
Yes.
retired?
No, I'm not retired yet. No, I was made redundant at Liverpool Council recently.
Now, I want to ask you first some questions about your work history and also in particular, your work history of working with local councils. To assist you, I'm going to pull up a copy of your curriculum vitae. For document LCC.010.007.008, 8834 be called.
Do you want that document on the live stream?
Yes.
A bit grayer now.
Youthful photo.
Beginning of my term in Parliament.
And if we move through the document, we'll start with executive summary. It sets out your tertiary qualifications. You were a graduate of Macquarie University in political science and Australian history.
That's correct.
And then in the third paragraph on that page, it talks or refers to you being an elected councillor from 2000 to 2012, having first been elected to South Sydney Committee?
No, I was a member of the Planning and Development Committees and the Central Sydney Planning Committee, which I referred to there, which is the referred to the CSPC, which deals with CBD developments to the value of, I think, about $50 million. I was on that for a couple of years from the council.
Now, from being a councillor, in the next paragraph, you speak about being a senior advisor to the CEO and the Mayor of Liverpool City Council from 2012 to 2014. Now, the council then, if you can just excuse me for a minute, that council finished its term around September 2016.
Right. That would be right. It was after I left.
The mayor was Ned Manoon.
That's correct.
There were a number of councillors who were either representing or linked with, respectively, the Liberal Party and the Labor Party.
That's correct. There was a majority of Liberal councillors on that council.
And that included Tony Hachiti,
Correct?
Gaz Balut,
Yes.
Sabrine Mamone,
Yes.
Mazad Hadid,
As I did, yes.
and Peter Recessi.
That's correct.
There were some Labor members or Labor representatives, being councillors Wendy Waller,
Yes.
Ali Kanib,
That's Ali, yes.
Anne Stanley,
Yes.
and Jeff Shelton.
Yes, that's right.
And there was one independent, being Peter Hull.
Yes. A veteran.
Still there.
Yes, indeed.
Now, in your CV, you described the position as the senior advisor to the CEO and the mayor. Strictly on a reporting basis or an organisational structure, who did you report to?
When I started at Liverpool Council in 2000, and then subsequently I reported to the CEO, which was Farooq Portelli.
Excuse me for a minute. Mr. Mallard, the acoustics in this beautiful courtroom,
We get complimented by deep voice, so I'll speak louder.
that would be tremendous if you could speak louder.
No worries.
Thank you.
Use your parliament voice.
I'll project louder. Yes, thank you.
But you described it in your CV as being the senior advisor to both the CEO and the mayor.
Yeah, so if I can explain that then, it technically, structurally reported within the administration of the organisation. You don't report to the mayor. So CEO, or before that was a director. For public consumption, you refer to, I would always refer to saying I'm an advisor to the CEO and I also advise the mayor, but it's through the CEO.
But you worked intimately with the mayor?
Yeah, yes, that would be right.
And at that stage, where the council offices were located, was your office or your desk or work area close to the mayor's office?
There's a number of iterations back between 10 and 12. As I said, I reported to a director initially, and I sat in an open plan area of her area. The position that I was created was the first time it had been created at that time, I understand, so they were still working out how that would work. Ultimately, after the mayor moved offices in Moore Street, swapped offices physically, I was located in a breakout office close by the mayor's office. Like I could see my door, look to the corridor, and I could see who came in and out into the mayor's suite. I wasn't actually in the suite.
And at that point, did the mayor have an executive assistant,
Yes, he did.
a deputy or a executive assistant?
I don't recall him having a deputy assistant back then, but he may have had support staff in Billy Sankovich's team, which were located right next door as a director. There may have been some additional support staff, and they're doing additional work to support the mayor.
And were you the only person occupying an advisor role?
That's correct.
Now, did you leave that role to become a member of parliament?
Yes, in 2014, I won the pre-selection for the upper house and resigned immediately, left at the end of that calendar year, and then I was campaigning for the election, which happened in March 15, 2015.
And that was for the upper house?
Yes, that's right.
And you were successful?
Yes, indeed, for 8 years in the upper house.
During that time when you were a member of the upper house, did you work closely with John Ajaka?
Yes, I worked closely with all of the coalition upper house members. Of course, it's only a small team. Prior to John was a minister when I got elected. So I dealt with him in that role. Subsequently, when Don Harwin moved into cabinet, he was the president of the upper house when I was there, and Mr. Harwin appointed me as what's technically called temporary chair of committees. It's a quaint parliamentary term, but it basically means a temporary deputy president. So you go in the chair when the president's not available, and you also chair all the amendments in the House. Mr. Harwin appointed me to that. Subsequently, when John Ajaka was no longer in cabinet and he was elected by the House to become president, he continued me in that role, but recognising there were probably about 4 or 5 members that had that title.
Now, when you became a member of the upper house, you gave an inaugural address.
That's traditional.
Yes.
Indeed.
I'll bring up the transcript.
Sorry, just
Happy to read it out.
hey,
I'm happy to read it out. I'm quite
the whole
proud of
thing.
it. Yes.
Towards the bottom of the page that's on the screen, Mr. Mallard, there's reference to your roles as Parliamentary Secretary for Infrastructure and the Aerotropolis and Parliamentary Secretary for Western Sydney. You just give me a general summation of your activities in those roles?
Gladys Berejiklian as Premier appointed me Secretary for Infrastructure and Aerotropolis. Today, previously, and now again today, they refer to as Junior Minister, but back in that period, Mr. Farrell, as Premier, made it very clear they were Parliamentary Secretaries. And you had a broad remit, so it was to, representatives in those capacities. So I did a lot of public speaking at like property industry events, and I went around and met with local councils. In fact, I did one visit to Liverpool to talk about the Aerotropolis and the airport at Liverpool. And then consequently, when Dominic Perrottet became Premier, I was proud to be promoted in effect and made Parliamentary Secretary for Western Sydney. And that was only for the last 6 or 8 months of the government.
The Aerotropolis, did you have much involvement?
In Sydney, I think he was at that time, and he had the Aerotropolis under his area. So I was trying to, my view was, what I was trying to do is get the message out more broadly to the electorate and also to the business community about the opportunities of the Aerotropolis. So it was really, I was really in the dark a bit trying to work out how it all worked. I know a lot better today because the Liverpool Council is very intimately involved with the Aerotropolis, but back then I was feeling around in the dark about how it all worked. Yeah.
Thank you.
You spoke about Premier Perrottet. You were appointed, what was it, Secretary?
Which is what I had wanted before, but didn't get.
And in that role, did you have any involvement in the series of grants that the Commissioner has heard about the West Invest grants.
Yes, I didn't have a role in any determination, but it was done at arm's length by government. But I certainly advocated for some grants. Most famously, the grant to restore the Canterbury ice skating rink, total Labor area, but they had cottoned onto me to help advocate for that.
And that was granted?
Yes, indeed it was. And I spoke at a rally there alongside Labor members and Green members with a big community about that. And then any grant that was announced, Premier or ministers to announce grants, and I did, you might be leading to Liverpool, without having any advocacy for Liverpool to get a grant at all. I did attend the announcement of the grant for Woodwood Park, I think it's called, down the river, the project there. I attended that event.
Is that the one linked with Brickmakers Creek?
No, Brickmakers Creek is, Woodwood Park is down on the Georges River, and Brickmakers Creek is a good kilometre to the west at Woodwood Park, actually. Yeah.
All right. Now,
I didn't participate in that announcement.
we bring up the inaugural speech, please. INQ .044.001.0003. Yes, please.
Public document.
I don't know if you've looked at this recently.
I had a quick browse of it this morning since you...
Brought back some memories.
Indeed, your inaugural speech, they say, is long after you're gone is how you're often judged. Yeah.
Trees that I wanted to draw your attention to. And I think it's on page 5. Now, as you said, the inaugural speech, it traditionally gives your background, and this one does, gives the background, family and how your family came to Australia, etc. But also there's usually a section where you thank and acknowledge people. On this page, I wanted to first draw your attention to it's the third paragraph, but the second complete paragraph.
Starting to Liberal Mayor?
Yes. Yep. So there you expressly from the noon, where you say, thank you for the lessons you've taught an old hand like me. And then you say many complimentary things about Mr. Manoon, but there are some other politicians that towards the end of your speech you single out, but here you've identified Mr. Manoon. Did that reflect that you had a very close working relationship with him?
Yes, indeed.
And also you're both obviously members of the Liberal Party. Within the Liberal Party, were you similar factions? Or I know there's a claim that there are no factions in the Liberal Party.
I am under oath. Yes, we were both members of what's called the moderate faction, yes.
And to assist us, who's usually associated? Is that like, for example, Malcolm Turnbull is associated?
No, Malcolm wouldn't associate himself in the faction per se, but people like John Brogden and Maurice Payne and Don Harwan, Stuart Ayres, that sort of ilk of people. Federal, that's just a small list.
Now, can I take you to the paragraph above that? And there you talk about appreciating the role of local government, and you councillors and Mr. Hachiti, Mr. Hadid, Mr. Mamone, Mr. Balut and also Mr. Ristevsky are all acknowledged.
Yes, indeed. I think, from memory, all of them or most of them were present at the inaugural speech. There were about 300 people at the inaugural speech, but they were there.
When you were working for Liverpool Council, as I asked you beforehand, working during that particular council period,
Yes, sure.
2012 to 2016.
14. Yes.
There
14,
were,
2014.
sorry, the
Yes.
term was 2012
Oh,
to
that's the term, sorry,
2016.
yes. My period was just those 2 years.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
But you did work, but you had Labor councillors.
Yes, indeed.
And you had an independent councillor.
That's true. That's
You
correct.
didn't acknowledge that.
No, in hindsight, I think, when I was reading it this morning, I thought I should have, because I had a very good working relationship with the Labor councillors and Councillor Hall. In hindsight, I was looking at it this morning and thought, well, I probably should have mentioned that. But nonetheless, this is a partisan speech. I'm a Liberal, newly elected Liberal member of Parliament. It's a Liberal who was in the room. So in the context, it's a partisan speech. I think you'll probably find through the speech references are to Liberal politicians, although I acknowledge Tony Pooley, who's a close friend now, who was the Labor Mayor of South Sydney, and acknowledge him in the speech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you acknowledge Mr. Ristevsky. And as you said, you were working there from about 2012 to 2014.
Yes.
What was your relationship with Mr. Ristevsky?
Excellent. Very good, positive working relationship with him and all the Liberal councillors and all the councillors in general. I had no problems with any of them.
Did you make any of council about the relationship between Mr. Ristevsky and the mayor?
It seemed to be cordial. It was commented upon after I left by some senior staff at the council. Shayne, all fell apart after you left, it was certainly a well-working team.
Excuse me for a minute. And if we can just move down that page, we refer to the Hollywood roll calls,
Oh dear.
which I think is a good description. But as you previously referred to, you make mention there to a number of the fellow Liberal parliamentarians, both state and federal. And you then say, I welcome also friends and colleagues, and the first person that you identify is Minister Jean Ajaka. You knew Mr. Ajaka before you went to join the upper house?
Yeah, so I first met I heard of Mr. Ajaka, but I hadn't had any engagement with him until he emerged as a candidate for potentially for the upper house. He was a councillor on, I think it was Rockdale Council, and I met him at a local government conference at the Carrington Hotel in the Blue Mountains, and that's the first time I met him, just before he went into the upper house.
Could we return to Mr. Mallard's CV, which was LCC.010.007.8834, please? We move to page 3, please. Just concluding your work history, as the second entry indicates, you were a member of the upper house from March 2015 to March 2023. And at that election, did you stand again?
No, I didn't have the support of the party to continue, so that was the end of my 8 years. Honoured to serve 8 years in Parliament. So I concluded in 2023, March 2023. I didn't run again, no.
The next entry is Senior Policy Advisor to the CEO, Liverpool City Council, May 2023 to present.
That's at the date of the CV, which was the CV I supplied when I applied for the directorship.
Yes, I was just going to get you to clarify
It's not
that.
been updated yet, it should be.
Now, when you were employed again by Liverpool City Council, commencing round May 2023, were you initially employed on a temporary contract, but as a policy advisor, or was it the senior policy advisor position?
It was an initial contract of 3 months. There was expectation. And from memory, because I've got it there in the CV, I think it was senior policy advisor. No, in fact, that's what it was. Whereupon when I was on in the position back in 12 to 14, I think it was just called policy advisor back then. Yeah.
Now, this was what's known as a direct
appointment, contract appointment.
How did it come about?
I recall Julie Scott, who is the manager of city economy and ultimately wound up reporting to me as a director, rang me up in the period after I'd finished in Parliament, so it would have been probably April, and asked me if I was interested in giving a hand in the government relations space. And I said, no, I'm open to suggestions, but I didn't hear back from her at all. And then subsequently, Mr. Ajaka contacted me and said, come and have a talk to me. And obviously out of Parliament, had a bit of a time to spare. So, and I love Liverpool, as you can tell from my inaugural speech, the city. And so I went and met with Mr. Ajaka, who I had huge respect for. And he had been appointed CEO. I'm not sure when, but we were still in government when he was appointed CEO, and we discussed the opportunity to give a hand to facilitate the relationship between the elected body and the organisation, which is the sort of expertise I developed.
So your expertise, as you said, was between the role of the councillors developing strategic policy, etc., and then the actual council staff,
Yes.
who are in charge of operations and putting into place or into operation the various strategies that the governing body determine.
Yes.
And your expertise in that area, you've been a member of Parliament for about 8 years. Are you referring back to when you were a councillor with the City of Sydney? Or?
Oh, indeed. The 12 years, 3 from memory at South Sydney Council, which is a very different council to the City of Sydney. And then the subsequent period with the City of Sydney, I quickly appreciated and I was well regarded for my understanding of the differentiation between the elected body and the role of elected councillors, and a complex and difficult role, and the operational body and the interface between the two.
So that was primarily your experience when you were a councillor on South Sydney and then City of Sydney?
That's correct. I never had one code of conduct made against me in my whole career because I respected and understood those two relationships. And in fact, the CEO of the City of Sydney, Monica Barone, was a referee for me for the job of director at Liverpool City Council.
How would you describe the delineation between the function of the governing body and the function of the operational staff?
There's at 2 levels, and one is Councillor Sitting pointed out, the strategic budget back in those days, right up to recently, or the structure, right? The interface between a mayor, Liverpool's popular elected, which gives, I think, my view, more authority to a mayor than the turnover that occurs at other councils, and the CEO, and then the directors, right? The second level, which is where often conflict occurs, is the representation to the administration body on behalf of constituents, whether they be property developers or homeowners or people concerned around dogs in parks, whatever it is, making sure that that interaction is professional and documented. I'm always very careful with the procedures on that. That's the two levels, effectively.
Why do you say the second level is one that can give rise to conflict in your experience?
Well, you're representing constituents who are concerned around, a tree, a council tree hanging over their yard, right? There's a common one at Liverpool. So the councillor wants the tree cut down. The tree policy says no, we'll just trim it back. You've got to go through the process, and document it carefully. Make sure that the councillor can go back to the constituent and say, I've made representation on your behalf. This is the policy. We can do this to improve it, And so you've got to be clear about those communications. Council would much rather say, get out there and cut the tree down. Yeah.
Why is it important to document those?
I always documented interactions with council staff to avoid any ambiguity when I was a councillor, but also insisted on it when I advised the mayor and other councillors about this sort of thing. I always document what you're doing.
I take it you agree that there's a difference between asking on behalf of a constituent and directing?
That's correct. That's correct. It's a representation on behalf of a constituent. Sometimes you would make a representation that, frankly, you didn't agree with, like cutting the tree down. But you would put forward the case and then take the advice and then work out how to resolve it.
Is that another reason why, in your view, it's important to document those interactions so there can be no later confusion as to whether it was a question or a representation as opposed to direction?
Absolutely. And my career in local government, right, I think, my whole career in local government, councils had control over development applications, which has now been removed from councils. So that you had to be very careful about making representations on behalf of a developer or, a house owner who wants to extend their house or something. I always made sure that was in writing, making it very clear that I just want information about that.
Thank you.
Can I just pick up on some of your answers? You referred to the importance of documentation, and that was not only documentation when you were on the council staff side, but also when you were a councillor, you would document either requisitions or questions or matters that you raised on behalf of constituents.
Yes, nearly always via email.
And in addition to it being recorded in an email, and when you say an email, that you would be utilising your councillor email?
Yes, and at the City of Sydney, we're lucky enough to have a full-time assistant. Each councillor has an EA type person, and so they were able to do the documentation for it all and go into the council record-keeping system called TRIM, so it was permanently recorded.
Could you just, excuse me?
What about your time as a staff member at a council? That process that you describe of making sure those requests or requisitions are in email important on the other side of the fence as well?
Sorry, do you mean in terms of council interaction with me as a director?
Yes.
By and large, that would be in writing. And my EA, our advisor, Lauren Myers, was very thorough in making sure they're captured in TRIM. so that we had records for purposes such as this. So it was transparent, that interaction.
And with your director staff member hat on, was that of assistance to you in being able to manage councillor requests for information or?
Yes,
and the
we
like?
were pretty inundated, as you probably have heard, with councillor requests in my period as a director. But yes, that's how we managed them. And there's a policy of staff interaction. I think we had to turn a response around from memory 3 or 5 days. It was a lot of pressure.
But also from the point of view of ensuring there was no misunderstanding as to what was being asked for and what was within your purview to provide.
Absolutely.
There was a reference then to a policy. I'll bring the policy up. It's OLG.001.001.0276, and that can be live streamed.
Get a text message from councillors asking for things as a director?
It wasn't common. Occasionally, obviously, the mayor would text sometimes about, can someone do something or come to this function or something, but it wasn't that common. Not a common thing at all. I discouraged it.
Why?
Because I prefer to get the email through the proper process. I took, particularly when I became a director, and I resigned from the party because I became a director, I took a very serious position on public service. I was honoured to be a senior public servant. It's sort of been one of my aspirations, and so I treated all the interactions very professionally with focus on the policies and the professionalism of the interaction with the councillors and with the public and all the stakeholders.
Just before I take you to part of the policy, and if we move up a little bit, you can see that it's dated July 2023.
Mm-hmm.
The Commissioner asked you about text messages. Were there communications by a WhatsApp group?
Not that I participated in.
So you didn't participate in any WhatsApp group when you were first, and I'm focusing on your most recent employment with the council. They didn't have WhatsApp. 2012, I can't remember back then. But anyway,
I have to refresh. There may have been a WhatsApp group when I was on contract as an advisor, which I withdrew from. You get added to these things without your consent, which I withdrew from. So I didn't participate in. You may have some records where I may have interacted early on, but it was certainly not something I continued.
you weren't party to a WhatsApp group which the mayor organised or the mayor participated in?
I vaguely recollect I was added and I withdrew from it.
And you were added...
Certainly not involved in anything when I was a director.
When you were added, that was when you started in the senior advisor position?
Not 100% certain, but there was a WhatsApp group at that time. But as I said, I withdrew from it pretty quickly.
When you were still in the senior advisor role?
That's correct. I was not involved in any WhatsApp for long, and I wasn't involved in any WhatsApp as a director.
Now, this was the policy that you were referring to?
Yes.
Could we move through to attachment A, please? Page 8. And if we look at the second row, which is operational or strategic advice, so the request can be made to CEO, directors, managers, and also the councillor support officer. The councillor support officer, is that email address, councillor support?
Yes.
And we've had some evidence about its operation. It seems to be an email address where such requests can be made, and then somebody will filter it out to the appropriate section within the council.
It's pretty much like a triage point.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you can see it's a choice in the next column, how the information is to be requested. And it's got, look, it's councillor or the mayor's choice whether it's in writing or made verbally. But then it says the CEO, directors, managers, councillors, support are required to keep a file note of verbal requests where appropriate. Then the response will be provided verbally, memo or email. And then I think that time frame might have been the time frame that you just recently referred to.
Yes.
Then restrictions on information, no specific restrictions, but can be refused on legitimate grounds. And then the final column, record keeping requirements. General principle is to keep a record of all transactions, however, it's a routine matter not required. Now, that last requirement, record keeping requirements, your understanding when you were working as a director was that was not only an obligation imposed on you or your staff, but also on the mayor or the councillor?
Well, this policy applies in both directions, so it would apply to the mayor and the councillors. The mayor had an EA, an assistant EA that would also be responsible for capturing this information.
And your experience of dealing with such requests when you were a director, do you know if there was any requirement on either the mayor or the councillor about standards or how they are to keep a record, their record of the transaction? For example, was there a requirement of it being put into a file note or something like that?
Well, it wasn't my area to raise awareness to the councillors or train the councillors about the record keep. It was in Civic that did that. I recall when I first became an advisor to the CEO, like in 2023 when I returned to the council, I brought up to the mayor's office a woman whose name escapes me right now, but she was responsible for archiving and record keeping and trim, and she did a bit of a training session for him and I think maybe Lauren sat in on that because Lauren was his EA, Lauren Myers, on how trim worked. But I needed a refresher on how that worked. And I know Lauren, as I said to you before, in regards to her working for me when I was the director, was fastidious in keeping trim records. So that other side of the equation wasn't my responsibility to bring them up to speed on that. But I will say when I was at the City of Sydney, I remember being trained on record keeping as a councillor, how important it was. So I think there was a change to the Act at the time, so over a decade ago.
It appears to have been informal training that person whose name we can't remember, and you provided...
Just a junior staff member of the organisation.
To the mayor. Was that also provided to councillors at the time?
No, I organised this just myself for the mayor and also for myself to bring me up to date on trim record keeping. I'd served a term on the board of the State Records Authority, so I was well aware of the critical importance of keeping records. Yeah.
Whilst this is on the screen, Mr. Mallard, can I just direct your attention to the second row, operational or strategic advice? In the third column, which council assisting has directed your attention to, it says it's the mayor or councillor's choice whether a request is submitted in writing or made verbally. You see that?
Yes.
Do you have a view about where a councillor, mayor or otherwise, is seeking operational or strategic advice from the staff as to whether it's appropriate or a good idea for such requests to be made verbally as opposed to be put in writing?
I recall this document going through fairly quickly through the organisation, and I didn't pick up on that, but I would have spoken out internally against it being verbally.
Why?
Routine can be verbally. You know,
access to can I have a copy of the
yeah,
minutes?
but if you want to talk about restructuring organisation, that should be in writing. Yeah, all requests about information. Yeah,
Why do you have that view?
it goes back to what I said before: transparency and accountability,
Clarity?
lack of ambiguity, certainty about the response from the organisation back to the councillor. Another person, so the CEO, can look at that response and go, well, that looks reasonable, that adheres to policy, and that has protected me a couple of times, and it's better to be in writing. Yeah.
Can we just scroll down to the next row?
But routine matters, as it points out in the final column, that can be verbal. Like, can you organise someone to come to this lunch with me type of thing? You don't need to have it in writing.
Is any operational strategic advice a routine matter, though?
I'd put down a routine matter would be just, I would have just thought like the mayor picking up the phone saying, can you come to a meeting this afternoon in my office with so-and-so from the University of Sydney or something.
Can I have a copy of the minutes of the meeting of X?
Yeah, that's right, yes.
In a part of one of your most recent answers, you said something along the lines of this policy was formulated or passed in a hurry.
Probably not the right word to use, but it was, there was a lot of policies being reviewed at the time. The CEO was keen on having policies updated. They were quite out of date in the system. And so there was a lot of things passing through at the time. Yeah. And on top of your own directorship, to look at someone else's area, which is not my area, is a lot to do.
And you did say this, but I didn't catch it. Of the directorates, whose responsibility was this?
I think it's Tina Bono's area, which would be responsible for this area.
If you go through to page 7, please. This is, as it says, dated July 2023, but there it appears to be the office of the CEO.
Executive Services fell under the directorship of it moved around a bit, but it was under Tina Bono's area, which so they've consulted quite a few departments there. But I think it was her area. That's where the council support staff sat in her directorate. We talked about before, the triaging. So, and this policy very much relates to that interaction. Yeah. But I mean, other directors like Farooq Portelli, and because he's got legal, and the internal ombudsman doesn't exist anymore. I'm surprised that's there. And the CEO's office at that time was just, I think it was John Ajak or Jason. Nonetheless, there was only one staff member.
Can I take you back to one of your answers where the Commissioner asked you about the demarcation between the elected body and then the council staff? One of the areas where you said sometimes there's tension or difficulty is where a councillor is raising a matter on behalf of a constituent. And you gave the example of the tree.
Yes.
There has been some evidence before the inquiry about a councillor raising an issue on behalf of a constituent, but being given information, but continually asking questions.
I saw that evidence.
So it wasn't an immediate acceptance of the information that person had been told, but he did continue to agitate via email, so there's a record of it, and kept on pressing the constituents' issue. And my recollection is, I think there were about maybe 4 or 5 attempts by him in raising the issue, and then ultimately it just disappeared. On the one hand, you could argue that is a councillor representing a constituent and pursuing the interest of the constituent. On the other hand, it's you were provided with information from the relevant section of council and you didn't accept it, and then your continual agitation then leads to further resources being used. I think my question ultimately is, there's a tension between those two. Do you have any, did you experience that when you were a director? And can you give any indication of how you would resolve that tension?
Well, I saw that evidence, and it's specifically around Councillor Ostefsky, right? It's extraordinary. I thought it was quite extraordinary, and it's not the common practice of the councillors I engage with to have that sort of toing and froing and not accepting advice. My view would be that if, and you might get advice and you don't agree with it, you don't engage with the staff. In any case, you engage with directors. Shouldn't be engaging with one-on-one with staff. They feel intimidated by councillors and difficult for them to stand up to councillors across the spectrum, not just Liverpool. My view would be you'd escalate that if you didn't agree and you felt it was wrong. You'd escalate that if the director had made that decision. You'd escalate to the CEO. That's what you should do, and then the CEO will have a review it and make a call on it, right? And that's what would be normal practice. In regards to have I ever experienced, well, that's this particular councillor who was, and I guess it still is, very vigorous in sending a lot of complaints from constituents into the system. And I had one around, do you want me to give you an example? Sorry. I might need some more water. Who does that?
Yes, we'll get that for you.
I'm used to my inquiries having big jugs.
Yeah. Put a jug on that little shelf, it might end up the tech.
You see that?
Feel free to ask at any moment.
I can reach over and do it myself. I feel so like an invalid. Thank you. that. Did you want me to give an example that impacted upon me?
Yes.
Okay. It's the same councillor. The issue was, and I think he did it through council support complaint.
And that's the appropriate avenue?
Yes, and we're constantly counselling councillors about making sure they went via that avenue. So because the staff in council support, who are under pressure, documented it correctly and put the stopwatch on to make sure that, you saw the policy, it's 2 days, I thought it was a bit longer, to get a response back. So we had this situation where Councillor Ostefsky was unhappy that we had declined his, I think he'd gone through the media manager at that time, declined his request to upload a video of him onto council's social media. And so I had the staff review his request. I got the complaint. I had the staff review the request. We extracted the section of the policy, which said that the mayor is a spokesperson for council, which is the legislation as well. But the mayor can delegate to other councillors the role of spokesperson. In this instance, he had delegated to Councillor Dr. Betty Green a role in NAIDOC Week. It was a beautiful video that we filmed, and we uploaded that. And the other one was the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Hull, who was running a campaign delegated to him by the mayor and by the council itself, in fact, on dumped shopping trolleys in Liverpool. So both those videos went up. Councillor Ostefsky argued that...
Can I just stop you for a minute?
Yes.
I might bring up another document. Excuse me. document INQ.005.001.0012. That can be live streamed.
Whilst that's happening, we might close the door to prevent acoustic leakage into the corridor. I don't know whether it'll help, but probably as much as more as I can do. Thank you.
Can we move to the last page? Here it is. It's page 5. The email commences. Sorry. It's actually the bottom of page 4. Yes, thank you. Good associate. You can see the start of that is an email from the councillor.
Yes, to councillor support.
Which is the appropriate avenue.
Yes.
And if we would then move down to the content of the email on page 5.
Yep.
I've seen multiple post videos done by the Mayor, Councillor Hull, Councillor Green, respectfully request to be given an opportunity to do a video post. Please get back to me if that opportunity is available and if not, why. Now, that was sent to councillor support. Was it then forwarded to you?
Oh, it went, from memory, it went to the media manager and then subsequently to me to review the answer and then work on that response.
And I know we've kind of jumped
Because I wanted all correspondence to councillors to come via me. I didn't want direct.
No, I was just saying, in your employment chronology, I haven't got you appointed as a director yet, but we've jumped ahead. We'll keep on going.
I started this.
You've got me unemployed as well.
Could you move to the next page?
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, it's the bottom of 3. Thanks. Now, that's an email from you.
Yes.
To the councillor. You've copied in your EA?
Yes. She would, Lauren would trim that into the system and make sure that councillor support had the response back to stop the clock in terms of the response.
And then on the next page is your substantive response.
That's correct.
And I think you've given evidence that there were these video posts by the 2 councillors
Yes.
on particular issues.
Yes.
And that, as you say, you say there was delegated by the Mayor.
Correct.
Staff don't determine which councillors appear, and then you refer to the relevant sections of the media policy.
That's correct. And Cara, who was the acting media manager at the time, would have helped me. Would have helped me draft that.
And then if we... Now, if we go to the next email, which is dated the 10th of May, which is an email from the councillor, this time not to you, but to Mr. Breton. And at that point, Mr. Breton had been appointed the CEO.
I need to be refreshed on what date. I referred him as CEO, acting or otherwise. There was 2 years there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's a
Sorry, 1 year. Yeah.
There's a particular comment at the beginning of the email. If we can just pass over that at the moment, but then Councillor Rizdesky again is pressing that he wants to update the council Facebook page because he attended an airport conference and wanted to give a report on that. When you provided your response, where you referred to the media policy, did you realise it was to give this report about an airport conference?
No reference to that at all.
It was just in context of, I've noticed the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Green have recently made video posts.
Yes.
I would like to do the same. And then if we continue up the page, towards the bottom of page 2. This is Mr. Breton's response. He says, I referred your application under 4.1.7 to the Mayor, and then there's a reiteration of what Mr. Breton says is included in that media policy. The Mayor alone arbitrates the extent to which another councillor can act as an official council spokesperson. And then...
So this is when I became aware of this interaction, because you see I haven't been copied by anybody, and Mr. Portelli forwarded all that email trail to me and said, you should do a code of conduct on Mr. Councillor Ristevski because of what he said to Mr. Breton about your professionalism.
All right.
So that's the first time I became aware of this trial.
Okay, and then if we can...
And I thank Mr. Portelli for that. I appreciate it.
Then in this chain of emails, Councillor Ristevski replies, can move, yes. Thank you, Jason. Does the Mayor determine what is on the council Facebook page? Isn't it operational? I suppose raising that tension between the two
Indeed.
roles.
Yeah.
And then if we can move to the top, this is Mr. Breton replying, it's operational, though it's at the Mayor's discretion alone to arbitrate the extent to which another councillor can act as an official council spokesperson for an issue, but not on the platform on which one may do that. That decision ultimately remains with the CEO. And then he says, noting your frustration, we also need to refrain from comments in yellow as an example. And that's a reference to that comment that I passed over very quickly.
Yes.
At the beginning of the email, I think of the 10th of May on page 3, just the yellow there. And if we can go back to where we were. Okay.
Oh, I hadn't seen this response. The email forwarded at the point when Farooq Portelli forwarded to me didn't include this interaction. It was the earlier stage of the interaction.
Sorry, could you speak up again?
What's wrong with my voice today, Ben? Okay, I'll try and be louder.
Now, the comment that you just made was that you hadn't seen the subsequent interchange between the CEO and the councillor.
That's correct.
You had been alerted by Mr. Portelli of the comment in yellow.
Yes.
And that...
it wasn't in yellow when I saw it.
No, I think it's for the purposes of...
The later email.
Yeah, Mr. Breton's later.
I'm sorry. And after receiving that, you made a decision to pursue certain action about it.
I raised it with Jason at the next opportunity I had about it because I wasn't aware of it. And I said, this is a code of conduct. And he told me he had lodged one.
Now...
At that time, you know, they were flying everywhere, codes of conducts. Yeah.
Okay. The reason why we went to this area is that I had asked you about that tension between a councillor pursuing an issue as a constituent and accepting the advice from the staff that had been given pursuant to the policy. You referred to this because you provided the advice to the councillor, and then it would appear that he then pursued it further with the CEO.
Yes, it appears that way, and took a personal attack on me as well. Yeah.
But pursuing it with the CEO if he wasn't happy with your response, in a way that putting to one side the comment about you, we try and put that to
That's
one
right,
side,
yeah.
but actually raising the substance of, this is the answer I got, I've got some more issues about it. That was appropriate to raise it with the CEO?
Well, following what I suggested to you before, that's correct. I mean, raising it with the CEO, saying I'm not happy with this response, my view is and in writing, I think that's a correct way to appeal the response from a director if you're not happy with it. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
In your mind, I'm sorry, withdraw that. What you have suggested, that if an inquiry is made by a councillor, an answer, a fulsome answer is given by a member of staff, the councillor wishes to take it further, doesn't agree with it, your observation that should then be agitated by the CEO, is that in writing anywhere, or should it be part of the councillor staff interaction policy?
It's not to my memory is it in writing, but one would not want to encourage every single time the councillors don't get their way to go to the CEO. One would hope that they would respect and accept the professional advice from the staff, whether it's the planning director or whoever it is, a community services director or me, that they'd accept that professional advice. I mean, I coded that advice in the policy very clearly.
Let's go back to you being appointed as senior policy advisor.
Okay.
Excuse me. Could we bring up document LCC.001.006? Just before you do that, when you were appointed, it was for a 3-month contract?
It was stipulated to be 3 months. I don't think it was, I don't recall signing a contract that said that. It was a direct appointment, which can be under the Act up to 12 months, but it was indicated to me that it would be 3 months.
At that time, were you informed whether it was going to be a particular grade within the award and salary system of the council?
From memory, it was already a graded position.
Grade 15, does that sound?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and I recall, complaining that I didn't feel there was enough salary, but who doesn't? And then, so that was the situation. It was graded in there, but it's a pre-existing position.
Who did you complain to about, or raise, I'm sorry, I apologise. Who did you raise?
Oh, the CEO, of course, yes. And he said, too bad.
When you said it was an already existing position, did you replace somebody?
No, I did not replace anyone. I think Harris Strenger was in a role, a junior role in that capacity, and so it was in the structure. Obviously, it had been created at some point or recreated, and that, so that's when I looked at it.
Was it your understanding that the particular role was abolished in the structure that operated under Mayor Wendy Waller's council?
I expect that's the case, but I can't confirm that. Yeah.
Now, could we bring up LCC.001.006.0015?
You want that document?
Yes, please. Oh, excuse me for a minute.
Is that my appointment?
Yes, thank you. This is the letter of offer,
Yes.
3rd of April 2023.
Yes.
You can see it's the full-time temporary appointment to the position of senior advisor. In paragraph 2, it talks about we are pleased to offer you a market rate salary of 168,000 plus super.
Okay.
The terminology market rate, the inquiry has heard evidence that that's a rate above the particular grade rate for that position. So that may suggest that you had some luck with the CEO.
No, that salary was the established salary when I applied. So, I mean, I don't know what they did to establish that rate, but usually they would, human resources or the people department would engage a company like Mercer to do an assessment. And when I was a director, we'd use Mercer quite a few times to test the market rate for staff like, for example, the commercial property people, which just don't fit into the grades in a council structure because of the market is so robust for them. So that's probably what happened, but I didn't have any engagement with any of that.
You don't know that actually happened?
No,
You're just
no, I don't. I'm just
about-
speculating. It might have been done in that way, but I certainly didn't haggle or negotiate this figure. No, it was a fait accompli.
And if we can move to the bottom of, you can see there, sorry, if you can move it a little bit down, please. It states that the position reports to the Chief Executive Officer.
That's correct.
And then if we can move to the next page, we'll see that the offer was to be signed by Mr. Ajaka.
Yes.
While you could you remind me how long were you in that role for?
From memory, I think around about 2 months, and then applied for the position of Director City Futures.
And you were appointed to that position roughly around August?
What's the date of this?
April.
So it was roughly like two months after being appointed, then when that role starts. So April, May, maybe June 23.
While you were working, albeit under a temporary contract, in this role as the Senior Policy Advisor, did you press or agitate for an increase in the salary?
Other than the one conversation I mentioned, no. No, I reflected to Mr. Ajaka that I felt it was similar to what I earned 10 years earlier. He helpfully pulled up the employment document from then and found out it was half that money back then, so it was certainly different.
And before you left that position and were appointed the Director of City Futures, you didn't receive any salary increase for it?
For this position? Not that I'm aware of, no. No, unless there's any sort of CPI or, standard industry increases that occurred, but I'm not aware of any increases, no.
Now, the position of Director of City Futures, was that a new directorate that had been created as part of the restructure undertaken when Mr. Ajaka was appointed the CEO?
My understanding was that there'd been work being done on what's called the functional structure, and that structure, which I think John inherited, that work was already underway, gave rise to the 6 directorates. And City Futures, the workshops which I hadn't been involved in at all, had aligned certain departments into that area, which were all about that sort of strategic vision, direction of City Futures. But it was already in that the council had already endorsed the 6th directorate model.
You applied for that position. Were you interviewed by a panel?
Yes. So when the decision was made that they would activate that directorate, I will admit I was encouraged to apply. And
By whom?
by the mayor and by Mr. Ajaka and by other people that knew me. So you should get in there and give it a go. I was clearly not happy with my remuneration. I was content in that role. I thought there was an important role to maintain the functionality between the elected body and the organisation. That advisor role is, in my view, very critical. But I was very excited about City Futures. I had, in my policy advisor role, I had taken the mayor to meet Monica Barone at the City of Sydney, and we had gone through something I'm very passionate about, Sydney 2030 and now Sydney 2050. I'd worked really deeply on that, particularly 2030 when I was a councillor, and also a body called Sustainable Sydney. And Monica laid out all of these amazing strategic visionary documents and plans that the city's involved with, and that triggered the mayor to say to John Ajaka we should activate that sleeping directorate. It was there in the structure but hadn't been activated.
Just before.
So I did apply, and I did apply, as did other people, and it was a panel, to answer your question, yes.
And who was on the panel?
It was obviously the CEO, the CEO of Campbelltown, Lindy Dietz, I think it is, and Stephen Blackadder.
Just before we leave the senior policy advisor role, you've spoken about that you thought, your view was it was important in that observing the difference in the functionality between the governing body and the council.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that as your primary role as the policy advisor?
I saw that as a skill that I had, and it was to the benefit of the organisation that I applied it, which was to make the relationship between the mayor and the elected body, the mayor's the leader of the elected body, and the operational side understand each other and not have misunderstandings. And I particularly thought that was an important role to play between Mr. Ajaka and Mr. Manoon.
Why?
Goes when Mr. Ajaka was appointed, I was still a member of Parliament. I thought this will be interesting, but the mayor had a reputation, as we know, of going through quite a few CEOs, and I thought, well, let's see, this could be made work. You know, there was a lot of respect between the two. So I thought, let's see how this goes. At that point, I wasn't even looking to work there. I just thought this will be interesting how this unfolds. But I had that role 10 years earlier and tried to maintain the liaison between the mayor, the elected body, which the mayor controlled, and Mr. Farooq Portelli. Ultimately, the mayor fired Farooq Portelli, and I was involved in all that, trying to make that professional, and then brought on another CEO. Then I left. I think I don't think it's unique to Liverpool. I think the Lord Mayor of Sydney had key advisors to maintain her relationship with the organisation when I was there. The Labor Mayor of South Sydney did as well. I think that's not unique to Liverpool.
In the period that you were in that senior advisor role, were you also available to the other councillors?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And I made a point of it, making that clear to them back 10 years earlier and now. I was available to I write speeches. I did speeches for councillors, coached councillors for media. I was accessible to the councillors. I wasn't as close to the new councillors at this council because I didn't have time to establish my credentials as a non-partisan operator. But I had a very good relationship with Councillor Dr. Betty Green, who was the candidate against Ned Mannoon at the council election, because I had identified a lot with her issues. And so, but back at the previous council, 12 to 14, I had a great relationship with all those councillors.
You're in the role for a lot longer in that stint.
Yeah, they got to see my professionalism.
So your perception and how the senior policy advisor role worked when you occupied it is this correct? You were kind of a bridge between the governing body and the actual council, so that if matters arose that really are operational, but the council or the mayor is becoming agitated, you could act as either a conduit or at times a mediator between the two?
If I was brought into it, I would try to make it professional and transparent and accountable as possible. So if there's an issue that the mayor was getting very agitated about, I would try and resolve how we're going to get through this issue. Again, an example was Big Park and injecting drug users, making a lot of mess there. The mayor was very angry about it. It got on media. So I helped liaise between the directorates involved and area health and that to pull together some sort of strategy to try and deal with this issue. That's the sort of level. Yeah.
The description as a senior policy advisor, that sounds a bit of a misnomer in the way, and I'm not criticising what you did, but rather it seems more a facilitator, mediator type role.
No, there's a policy role too. I probably haven't played that enough. I mean,
and what did that involve?
Well, I supported the mayor's vision, and I was a huge advocate for the university city. And we were, that dates back to my first stint, and now the second stint, and then as a director. So policy on that was to attract universities to the city. So we do presentations to universities, to stakeholders. We had the airport. I was very involved in 2012 to 14 in I joined the council with a council that had been elected in 2012 to 14, opposed to the airport, which has been traditional out there, of course, at that time. And the councillors came to me and said, the community doesn't seem to be as agitated about the airport like they used to be. So then I developed, and it got a runner-up award in local government awards, I developed a consultation process with the community that gave them the tools to say the community wants the airport for jobs and for access to their overseas families and that. That's sort of policy work. So anytime I saw a strategic opportunity, I'd sit down, or the mayor brought it up, we'd sit down and work on it.
Your consultation process for the airport, that was during the previous
14.
Commissioner, we didn't, because we started late, we didn't have our usual break. Is it appropriate just to have a quick break now?
Why don't we take just 5 minutes to stretch the legs and rest the voice, and I'll come back just shortly before 12:15.
Commissioner, before recommencing the evidence, I've been informed that the transcript from yesterday had been on the website for a period of time before you made the further non-publication order this morning. I just raise it and with a suggestion that if any member of the public or media have observed what now is covered by the non-publication order, if they can keep in mind that that evidence is now covered by the order.
Yes.
And a redacted version will be placed, redacted version of the transcript will be put up on the website.
Yes, well, for anyone observing, the order I made prevents any portion of what is to be redacted from being published. Is there anything more for me to do other than to reiterate the direction I've made. Yeah, thank you.
Now, you applied for the director's position, you're successful.
Yes.
Now, you spoke before the short break that Mr. Ajaka had devised a functional design for the 6 directors or the 6 directorates.
Now, I'm not certain that Mr. Jarka did it. I know that the directors that at the council had been working on a functional design. I'm not sure if it was under Mr. Jarka's direction or whether it was happening already. But there was a functional design and they had already determined, so it was obviously a working group of directors, existing directors, already determined what areas of the different areas of the council would go into City Futures and fit into that agenda of that part of the council.
Would you bring up, please, INQ.013.001.0003? Yes, please. I'll just draw your attention to the top of the document, which is has structure as at August 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we can move down the document, it's headed functional design. You've got the Chief Executive Officer, and then you've also got the various directorates. First one being Director of City Futures with your name there,
Mm-hmm.
and with a number of kind of, I think they're either described as divisions or sections, including community and critical infrastructure planning, commercial development, grants and partnerships, city economy, innovation, communication, marketing and branding.
Yes.
Is it your recollection that when you were appointed as the Director of City Futures, they were the sections that came under your jurisdiction?
The functions, yes, but also over in the far right-hand column where Farooq Portelli is, the last one, corporate strategy and performance, when I became a director, was placed in City Futures.
All right, so that was removed from Mr. Portelli.
Some of them were moved around since then, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to revisit evidence that you gave this morning, which was when you were appointed the director, you resigned your membership of the Liberal Party.
Yes.
Can you reiterate why you did that?
Well, there was media, in fact, there was a speech in Parliament where it was alleged that I got the job because I was a Liberal. There was media reporting of that in The Australian, and I did not want that association to taint my professionalism in the role. You know, as I said, I was honoured to be a public servant. It was one of my aspirations in my life, and a senior public servant, and I felt that it wasn't appropriate to be a party member in such a senior public service role.
Now, I'll bring up...
And I might say I made that clear to the Labor councillors at the time, so they knew where I was coming from.
Would you bring up a later structure, LCC.002.010.2298, and it can be live streamed? You can see from the left-hand side, this is the establishment structure of the council as at January 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Director of City Futures is on the far left-hand column.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath, it's got total 36 positions.
Mm-hmm.
What was that referring to?
equivalent full-time employees in my directorate. But I also shared, and it's not very easily described here, but we had an innovation which the infrastructure planning team, which is over in underneath acting director operations, the fourth column across, I shared that team with myself. So I did the strategic planning work with them. There's a team of architects, landscape architects, and community planners. And over in the operations side, they did the sort of the delivery of it. And we were experimenting on sharing that together because there'd been a disconnect between those two teams.
And under Acting Director of Operations, which particular, I call them sections, but you describe them as functions. Which one did you just refer to that you either shared?
So this is in functions now. The previous one was functions. This is now actually units, departments. The infrastructure planning, right down the bottom. Okay. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up from the bottom of that column. I shared that with the Director of Operations, but not all 47 positions were shared. There would have been probably 15, 20 that were shared with me. They were originally in the earlier graphic you showed, they were actually in my department, but we identified this disconnect, the silos, the disconnect, the guys would, the team, guys and girls, would do a strategy, tree strategy, bicycle lane strategy, whatever, and then it wouldn't come out in the operational side. There needed to be a better connection. So we're sharing that, which is unusual for councils to do that. We're experimenting with that.
And the reference to 36 positions, that is in the directorate as at January 2025, there were 36 full-time employees.
That's equivalent full-time.
Positions.
Equivalent full-time, yeah.
The role of the senior policy advisor, did that under your responsibility or was it under another section?
No, it came to me when when the directorship was created. So it's not reflected there, but it's just a single position. Yeah. So previously it reported to the CEO, and then it came across to me, to my portfolio.
I'm moving to a different topic, and this is when you're working as a director, the lead up to the budget for 24-25, which was put before council in June 2024.
Okay.
Now, we've heard evidence about broadly the procedure with the budget, that there is a first iteration of the budget.
Yes.
It's been described by one witness that the first iteration is kind of the wish list.
Yes.
Where directors put in the various projects and other operations that they would really like to pursue next year, and also the costings and also any revenue that particular the functions under that directorate could generate.
Yes.
And then as a matter of consultation with the mayor and the councillors, the draft budget is refined, changed, with the aim that it gets to a stage where it's put on public exhibition. That's correct?
Goes through the council and goes on public exhibition, yes.
But in the lead up to it going on public exhibition, there may be a number of consultations or meetings with councillors.
Yeah, workshops, yes.
Yes, workshops. Yes. About the budget. Is your understanding when it gets to the stage just before it's being put on public exhibition, have the councillors indicated their approval, or is it more fluid at that stage?
Well, this particular, that particular year, that budget process, as you know, led to the ultimate issue with Mr. Ajaka. But that they were fairly. Some councils are quite robust in the discussion. Some of them are passionate about some of the proposals that directors are bringing forward. Some councils didn't even show up. So it was and the mayor was in and out of those meetings quite regularly, and the workshop would go for quite a few hours. One would expected by the time it got to go out in public exhibition, there was a sort of general consensus. One or two councils might want to make a political issue about something, but it would be going that way. I've got to say that process isn't the process I experienced at other councils as a councillor.
You didn't?
No. But there's a lot more pressure on Liverpool Council than any other council I was on in terms of revenue. There's just not enough money in that council to do all the things we want to do in a high growth area. That's a big issue. Cost shifting and rate pegging. And it's not unique to Liverpool. It's the same in most of Western Sydney councils.
The procedure that you experienced as a councillor at South Sydney and then the City of Sydney, just very generally, what was the procedure there with the budget and the involvement of councillors?
Well, South Sydney, I was quite involved because I was chairman of Finance Committee there, and probably in today's thinking transgressed a bit over operational, but we came forward with proposals that came from our election campaign, and the CEO of the day and the mayor of the day they come back with the suggestions how to incorporate that and finance that in the budget, right? That's South Sydney. City of Sydney, there's clearly work done behind the scenes that I'm not involved with because I wasn't in the governing group. And then we'd have a workshop or finance committee, it could have been called finance committee, and we were presented with the draft budget, and the staff would go through the capital works projects, and we'd have a say, and we could adjust things. It was not impossible to do that, and then it would go on exhibition. But the City of Sydney makes an incredible profit every year, so it's not the pressure. And then if you wanted to do something special, you put up a notice of motion. I got $50,000 to help the restoration of St. Stephen's Church on Macquarie, just across the road, Macquarie Street.
Opposite Parliament.
Yeah, the St. Stephen's? No, the one down at Hyde Park. St. James. But did that through a notice of motion. And then we had a debate, and then it was approved. That's the way to do it.
So your experience with Liverpool is that because of the revenue pressures, it goes through this procedure of workshops, etc., with ultimately a refinement of the budget, which hopefully reflects a general consensus, goes on public exhibition. And then I take it members of the public have an opportunity to raise matters? Yes,
and traditionally you don't get much feedback on that. This last budget they did. But traditionally you don't get a lot of feedback on the budget on exhibition. More likely you'll get feedback from government departments and your own internal departments.
Now, if I can ask you some questions about the lead up to the 24-25 budget. I refer to evidence about the first iteration is often the wish list budget and then it's kind of whittled down. Do you recall a meeting that the mayor attended where at that point the budget forecast a deficit of around $20 million?
Yes, I do.
And again, roughly in that lead up to June, when was it held?
Oh, I'd have to check my diary notes, but I would have thought it'd be 8 weeks or 10 weeks out, maybe 8 weeks out.
And at that point, the forecast deficit was about $20 million?
Yes, so Mr. Ajaka had said to the directors, and I was a new director, dream big. Dream big, come forward with your suggestions. Someone's aligned with the CSP, the Community Strategic Plan, which is the document that captures the aspirations of the community after every election. And his view was dream big, and I did. I told my team to dream big, and then we'll put forward the whole lot in the early stages and let the councillors determine the priorities. That was his approach.
Can I just ask you, when you were told to dream big, was dreaming big more in the what we want to achieve, as in these are the projects, these are the type of things that we want to do?
Yeah, well, in my area, it was and things like I had the tree strategy. So I know Liverpool has one of the lowest tree canopies in metropolitan Sydney. So I was keen to pump more money into tree planting. We were developing an app. We've been doing it internally. We're ready to develop it to the stage to go to market. That quite $500,000. Banner poles through the city, we didn't have those. That's sort of dreaming big. And also I wanted to lift up the standard of the CBD. Other directors had their other projects. I know the IT area needed significant investment, and that was put in there. Yeah.
So you were told, go forth, dream big. You then came back and had a meeting where you had at least dreamt big.
Yeah.
Other directors...
I dreamt a bit too big, apparently, but yes.
To your observation, other directors had dreamt
Had
big.
some, yes.
And taking into account all the big dreams, did that lead to the budget with the forecast deficit of about $20 million?
That's correct.
And if I could describe that as the dream big budget, was that subject to a meeting that the mayor attended?
Yes.
Did anything occur when the mayor was shown or confronted with a budget with that amount of deficit?
Yes. Yes. He got physically very angry and stormed out. We had all the directors there, and I think, from memory, most of the councillors there. It was in not our new building, but we had released another building in Scott Street. It was in the boardroom there, where we used to hold the briefing sessions.
And your evidence was physically angry?
Yeah, I could see that. I can read the mayor's body language. I could see he was really unhappy. I don't know if he'd been alerted to the deficit in this early draft of the budget, but he I don't remember what he said, but he basically stormed out.
Do you recall him doing anything physical with any of the papers that he'd been?
I think he hit them down hard on the desk and then left. Yeah.
You said that other councillors were present. Did the meeting continue?
I don't believe it did. I think it pretty much wrapped up because without the mayor there, it was, I think, my recollection is it wrapped up.
Now, after that meeting, and you've got the Dream Big budget, were you given any either direction or guidance? I'm sorry, withdraw that. Further amendments or changes to the draft budget, did they come from the CEO?
I recall in the CEO's office in Moore Street that we started to go through line items in our budgets, and I do recall there was a lot of focus on me because I think I was responsible for maybe $6 million of that because I was a new directorship, so I wanted to get on with projects that related to the portfolio, and so there was some focus on, no, you don't need to do that, take that out type of thing. We started to bring the sales in. But Mr. Jarko had a view, the councillors had to own the budget. So this is what the operational people are saying. These are things we need to do to comply, to answer the CSP, the Community Strategic Plan, the direction of this city. This is what we're recommending. You tell us what is important and what we can defer to another year. That's basically was his approach to the budget. But that didn't happen that way.
If it did happen in that way, was it foreshadowed that there would be feedback from the councillors along the lines of you've got a line entry for X amount to plant more trees. We think that's a great idea, that should be included. Or that's a silly idea, or we don't think that's a priority, remove that.
Yeah, subsequent workshops with the councillors went through each of our budgets and we put the case forward for why. I'll give you the example of mine. I was passionate about was the app, a Liverpool app. And the councillors were like, yeah, let's invest that $500,000 to Apple Store standard, right? That was an example. So we go through it, but other things will go out of the budget. Yeah.
You just described your understanding of how Mr. Ajaka either proposed or thought it would operate, and then said something like that didn't occur.
Well, the starting point was that meeting where the mayor walked out and said, the feedback I got was, how dare you bring a deficit like that to a meeting like this? I don't think he said it to me, but I heard it as feedback. So then the process of whittling it back was in the CEO's office and some of it in the council office, in the council briefings. Yeah. But I think the mayor expected the CEO, and I know he did with his current CEO and the current budget that just went through, to come to the council with a break-even budget, to do all the hard work, the heavy lifting to get it to that balanced budget.
Before it was presented to council?
Yes. Yes, that's my interpretation of his position. He didn't want to be presented with a deficit budget, certainly not $20 million. Yeah, that's right.
How do you have that understanding? That's something told to you, or that you?
Well, it's in Liberal DNA to try and have balanced budgets. We know that state and federal all the time, right? And Labor's always trying to get there. That's fine. I'm not commenting on that. But so the mayor was always preoccupied with the balanced budget. I mean, back in the black was his big campaign slogan. When we finally got a budget there that was like $1 or $2 million in the black, which now we know that year's over. It's about 15 million in the debt, I believe. So it's a big focus, and it's one of those sort of talisman, those touch points for Liberals.
So after the 20 million deficit budget,
Draft budget,
I'm sorry, yes. Your evidence is that the process continued with CEO refinement in consultation with directors, input from councillors. Did it, in the meetings that you attended, did it ever get to the stage where the budget was at a point where the mayor expressed that he was happy with it?
I'm not aware of that, no. I'm aware that we've narrowed it down to $3 or $4 million deficit as we're getting closer to the final presentation of a budget to the council. And we were obviously scrutinising, we scrutinised the projects and the operational business as usual side of it, and we were hammering hard on what revenue what revenue opportunities there were.
On that, the revenue opportunities, part of your jurisdiction included commercial property?
Yes.
And that's commercial property that is owned by council?
That's correct.
As part of the ultimate budget for that year, there was a line item for the sale of the council property at 3 Hoxton Park Road.
Yes.
How did the proposal to sell that property, how did that arise?
Well, we were all thoroughly going through our revenue side of our spreadsheet as a director, and I had very little opportunity for revenue, a little bit of banner poles, as I mentioned, nothing, but I had commercial property. And that
Can I
direct,
just pause it? With the commercial property, wouldn't there be revenue through
yes,
rent or?
yes, that's right, yes. So commercial property, which was at that stage a 3-person team, a new created direct business unit, didn't exist before. And there was no strategy, there was no software to run it, it was just run by manual files, it was just a disaster that we inherited. And they, the senior manager there, we were going through our property portfolio, right? So you mentioned rent and the leasing. All the leases were pretty much locked in, and, you know, we were working on those quite, because they were critical to revenue for the council, particularly Liverpool Civic Place. There were some outstanding revenue things that were quite caught up with legal problems, like, you know, telecommunication towers and that weren't paying rent. I mean, we were sorting that out. They're quite complicated though, they were legal matters. But one of the revenue sources is to look at your property portfolio and identify an asset that's not performing, right? And so we went and we went through the portfolio, which is not huge, a dozen shops, Liverpool Civic Place, 33 Moore Street, the old council library, and odd buildings around the place. And 3 Hoxton Park Road, which was the surviving building from the big fire that burned down the council buildings before my day. It was there. It was two stories. The top floor was empty. We did have operations in there. They had moved into Moore Street and
Rose Street?
No, Rose Street was a depot. They had moved into the top floor of Moore Street after we moved out of Moore Street into Liverpool Civic Place. And the ground floor was occupied by the SES on, you know, $1 a year rent, which is required by state, right? The council provide accommodation for them. So we looked at that asset, which was potentially a good site for redevelopment, could be upsized. It was a good location. The SES weren't paying rent in a significantly good commercial building, and we had an empty top floor which we couldn't get a tenant for at that time. We'd been on the market through JLL for some time trying to find a tenant. It wasn't returning good revenue. And you might hear from other people, in particular Councillor Rostesky, arguing it was returning good revenue, but they always didn't count the ground floor not paying rent. They just did the top floor. We had interest, unsolicited proposal, just a discussion, from a hotel group for the site.
When did that occur?
Before the budget process, you know, and but that had gone no further. And if it had gone further, we would, you know, expressions of interest process to go through an ICAC guidelines to adhere to do that. So we knew there was interest. We got an evaluation of between $12 and $14 million.
All right, can I just pause there? Would you please bring up LCC.016.001.0037, please? Yes, please. This is an email chain. I'll take you through to page 5. And it's that email from a Peter Panopoulos to a Steve Simmett, is it?
Yes, that's the Senior Manager of Commercial Development.
Was he part of that group of 3 that you...
Yes, he was the leader of that group of 3, yes.
And it doesn't say anything but, identify a property, but the subject matter is high-level view, and there's obviously some form of valuation contained in that email.
Yes, that's right.
If we would move up, please. Stop there.
Yes.
He then emails you, "Hi Shayne, please find below value opinion of 3 Hoxton Park Road provided by Civic Valuations." The date of this is the 12th of April. And then if we keep on going. Stopping.
Right, emails and 12 point. Yep. I get in trouble for that.
No complaints from me.
Same.
We have your email to Mr. Portelli, budget adjustment. The CEO has requested I bring this new City Futures budget initiative to your attention and add to the budget prior to any discussions with the Mayor and councillors. You identify it's this particular property identified for disposal this coming financial year. And then if we just look at the rest of it, you refer back to the valuation.
Yes.
And then your final comment is it's subject to the SES tenancy being relocated or leased back for a period to a new buyer, but subject to negotiations
That's correct.
at the time.
Yep.
All right. And then if we can write, I think it's the last email from Mr. Breton. Yes, then you've got an email, on the 15th of April from Mr. Breton to you and Mr. Portelli. If this plays out, I can handle SES at Rose.
That's Rose Street Depot, yes.
That suggests he was thinking about moving the SES to the Rose Street Depot.
Yes.
But need $1 million for the fit out of a new office space, as I will move more. All right, so there's further movements to accommodate the possible sale of the property.
Yep.
And then you may not have been, yes, you were copied into
Yeah,
this.
I was aware of it.
Mr. Portelli then forwards it to Mr. Nadan, and as the Chief Financial Officer, he's the main one dealing with all the
Yes.
draft budget.
So he deducted $1 million from the potential sale for the purposes of the relocation of SES. They also, although it wasn't leased at the time, it was approximately $400K a year rent for that top floor that we had in the budget. So he also, I think there was an email trail where that was deducted as well. Make sure that you reflected those costs. Yeah.
And if we go to I think, as you just commented, this is Mr. Nadan just making some final changes to how it's going to be included in the budget.
Yes. And you see it, he says, and you can almost read the excitement in his sentence, the budget result will well and truly black, $3 million roughly.
But at this stage, the proposed sale of 3 Hoxton Road had not been raised with the councillors?
No, I don't think it had been at this stage.
In any of the strategic plans that the council had considered, it hadn't been earmarked or raised?
Well, there was no commercial property strategic strategy in place. So, we were just starting to do that process at the same time trying to lease out all of Liverpool Civic Place and manage all those huge expectations on us to deliver on that. So the answer to that is no. It had not been identified as an asset that could be sold, although I was told, I didn't see a document that, there was always an expectation that, that was once our headquarters, burnt down, a bit of it survived. I believe we actually sold it and bought it back. That was way before my time. And then Moore Street, our headquarters, and now Civic Place. That the view that was expressed to me was there was an expectation we would recycle those assets, and Moore Street was placed in the long-term financial plan for sale to reduce our debt on the new building. So it was not out of order to have that conversation.
Who told you that there was this view or expectation?
I'm not certain. I've got a vague thinking it might have been the mayor, but I can't swear by that.
What do you mean by recycle those assets?
Well, the portfolio it was pretty static, and elements of it weren't performing, elements that were redundant, and no one had taken a strategic view of it. I was arguing to get the money to bring in a major firm to do an audit of all of our commercial properties, and then to do an assessment of whether we should retain them or sell them. Now that sort of kicks into Jason's Project 26 later on, but you know, I didn't get the support at ELT to do that at that stage. But nonetheless, this asset was. It was pretty clear to me and Steve that it was not performing, and we're having trouble getting a tenant for that top floor. And we'd had someone come along, kick the tyres about that site, which made me think that. And then I was surprised when the evaluation came in so high, because we had it booked for, what was that, $7 or $8 million, I think, and its valuation coming significantly higher.
But the valuation you were relying upon, was that the valuation in the first email
Yes.
that was provided by Mr.
That's correct.
Populous, sorry. Okay. Could we just go back to a previous email? Yes, page 3, Mr. Mallard's email to Mr. Portelli on the 15th of April. Yes, that one.
Yeah.
There you tell Mr. Portelli the CEO has requested I bring this new City Futures budget initiative to your attention. So was the sequence that you were looking at revenue possibilities for your directorate?
As everyone else was doing too, yes.
You came up with this
Yes.
and then approached the CEO.
I would have sat down. Look, the commercial property area is only area of revenue in my portfolio. So I would have sat down with Steve and Jeff at the time, who was there, and said, let's go through what we've got and what can we do now. Obviously, we looked at the rent revenue side of it. We still haven't leased out at that stage, I don't think, Liverpool City Place. That was a big burden on us. But nonetheless, we went through all the other rats and mice properties, and I hate saying that, you know. We're locked in on small contracts, couldn't make a big difference to the bottom line. And this asset was one that was standing out as, and Steve is a qualified valuer as well from the property market that we recruited in. And he just instinctively said, this is not a performing asset. We either knock it down and build a bigger building there, which we had no money to do. We didn't have an appetite for JVs, so joint ventures, which we got approval from the minister to do. And so we realised the capital from that. Yeah.
Your evidence that you had a conversation with somebody where they said it was their view or expectation that it would be recycled and you thought it could be the mayor. Did that conversation occur in once you identified it as a property?
Yes. Afterwards, yeah.
And you had earmarked it for inclusion as a line item in the budget?
Correct. That's correct. So we would have then taken this to a councillor briefing, which is confidential, and then that item would have been discussed.
I note the time.
Yes. Should we come back slightly earlier, or how are we tracking?
I think 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock? All right, Mr. Mallard, we're going to take the lunch break now. We'll resume at 2 o'clock. So if you wouldn't mind being back here a couple of minutes before 2 o'clock, ready to go, I'd be most grateful. And I'll adjourn till 2.
Thank you.
Mr. Mallard, before the break, I was asking you about the proposed sale of 3 Hoxton Park Road and how it became included in the budget. Do you have a recollection at any time in the lead up to the budget being considered at the council meeting in June, that there was some inadvertent disclosure that was the property that was earmarked?
Yes, that occurred at the budget meeting, or the council meeting, when it was to go out on public exhibition. And it was disclosed as a line item in the budget papers online, which was to identify it as an asset to be sold in the coming financial year. And that was an oversight in terms of uploading it onto the system. It was taken down fairly quickly. But I think Mr. Portelli gave evidence to this effect the other day. My understanding was we had a number of... Sorry, just a number of properties.
I just want to explore this with you. So at what stage was it inadvertently included?
I think it was the meeting of the council adopted the budget to go on public exhibition.
Right, so that's not the June meeting where they actually...
When it came back off exhibition and was adopted, no.
So it's pre-exhibition?
Yeah.
And your recollection is that there's some resolution or it's discussed at a council meeting that we've got a version of the budget and it's ready to go on public exhibition?
Yeah, it goes to council and council adopts the draft budget and it goes on public exhibition. Then it comes back off public exhibition with any feedback from all the stakeholders, including the community, and then it's adopted by the council.
And it's your recollection that the draft budget, which was before the council for them to determine whether it should go on public exhibition, that had disclosed or revealed a line item or the proposed sale of 3 Hoxton Park Road?
It's buried in the spreadsheets, and you've got to realise there's quite a lot of documentation, was the actual identification of the property. But from memory, it didn't indicate the expected sale value for that property, but had amalgamated some other properties together and had a larger value. So it didn't reveal, this is my memory of it, didn't reveal the expectation for that particular property. And I think Mr. Portelli said that the other day.
What other properties were amalgamated?
From memory, it was the car parks at Hammondville that was sold to Sporties subsequently. Don't recall others. I think that might have been only 2.
I will return to that.
Oh, okay.
Can I just ask you about some evidence you gave this morning about when you were still a Member of Parliament and you were involved in some of the announcement of successful grants pursuant to the West Invest?
Yes.
My recollection is you spoke about attending some announcement at Woodward Park. Was that correct?
No, I've transposed 2 parks, and I think you were picking up on that. And I realised that I attended the announcement of the Lighthorse Park, which is abuts the Georges River just below Liverpool CBD. Well, it's that park. Woodward Park is the one down at where you mentioned Brickmakers Creek. I wasn't involved in that announcement. I apologise for that. I actually used to do it at council too.
All right. Can I take you back to the preparation of the budget for 24-25?
Yes.
I have asked you questions about 3 Hoxton. Ask you more about the development of the budget, and you've spoken about that meeting where there was the around $20 million deficit, where the mayor, I think you described it as stormed out.
Yes.
Subsequent to that meeting, were you aware up until a period in April that there were discussions about rationalisation of staff, and in particular whether directors or directorates should be abolished?
I was aware of, I wasn't aware of discussions per se, but I was aware of the email that the Mayor sent through to Mr. Ajaka saying suggest these measures. That's probably when I became aware it was in play again. I might say
You
that...
just said in play again.
Yes, about to expand on that. I might say going back to 12-14 and then now, the period now, the Mayor was very focused on too many managers, not so focused on too many directors at that time. It was such a distraction for the organisation that we started renaming managers different titles to get to, because recruiting staff from other councils, they come along and, you know, a coordinator was running an area that a manager ran at other councils. It was getting quite difficult for us to manage that issue. So and I did an analysis of our growth in managers from when I was there in 12 to 14 to now, and then the growth in the population, and it showed it hadn't been an exceptional growth. It was on par with that sort of growth in the community and the budget. So, yeah, but the Mayor was very focused on too many managers, want more people out there cutting grass, that type of thing.
So as you've just given evidence, it was concentrating more on the manager level, not the directorates.
Yeah, the first that directorates came into discussion was that email that the Mayor sent to Mr. Ajaka, which was sort of became currency of it became quite well known.
I'm just trying to find that.
Because I'm right in saying the conversation where allegedly the Mayor said to Mr. Ajaka, get rid of Michelle, get rid of Shayne, that's after that email went to John. I think that's the chronology there, yeah. Because I was well aware of that conversation.
I wasn't expecting to take you to this, but you'll remember it's an email where...
Is it OLG 00100100310? Now, this is going to be either really good or spectacular fail on my part.
Associate, could you help?
Is it that?
The fourth one.
Yes.
Aha,
Transcript.
thank you.
The transcript will reflect I was right.
If you can stop there, thank you. You can see email from Ned Manoon to Mr. Ajaka, Mr. Portelli, Ms. McNaught copied in. And then we've got, can you please provide the following modelling and recommendations for the budget? The first point, a reduction of management costs by $2 million. This can be achieved by a mixture of lessening the amount of directors and managers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after that email was sent, the next week there is a meeting between the four people who were copied into the email.
Yes.
That meeting was held on the 16th of April, and it is a meeting in which Mr. Ajaka uttered the words, "Shut the F up."
Mm-hmm.
Now, before that meeting, were you told or were you shown a copy of this email dated the 12th of April?
Not that I recall, no.
In the lead up to the meeting on the 16th of April, were you told anything about the meeting and what was anticipated would be discussed?
No, didn't even know the meeting was occurring.
So the particular points raised in this email, and I've focused on point number one, you had no knowledge of it and had no knowledge of these issues may be raised in the context of the budget.
My recollection is I didn't know about this email until after the confrontation in that meeting when when discussion occurred about why has this happened and so forth, that the reference was to an email that indicated getting rid of directors and managers and so forth. But that was the first. I don't recollect I knew about it beforehand, but I certainly found out. Everyone knew about the confrontation. It spread through the building within minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I just pause there?
Yes.
How did you find out?
It was overheard by his EA, and she alerted me to it.
So
The confrontation was loud enough to go through a closed door.
all right. And the EA heard it?
Yes,
And the EA informed you?
yes. It was my EA. I'm secondment.
All
So
right.
not Lauren.
So she was your executive assistant at the time?
Yes, I recruited her to the.
I was asking you some questions about how you became alerted to the meeting that occurred in the offices of Mr. Ajaka on the 16th of April.
Oh, I became aware of the meeting at its conclusion from my EA, who was on secondment to Mr. Jarka's office.
Now, that's how you found out. Within the organisation, did it appear to you that an account or a description of what occurred at the meeting was spreading throughout the organisation?
Yes.
Do you know the source of that, of other people finding out?
No, I can't answer that.
After you found out, did you speak to anybody who was involved at the meeting?
Oh, at some point in time, I obviously spoke to the CEO. And that's when he revealed that what the mayor was wanting to do, get rid of 2 directors and get rid of managers and so forth. I'm not sure when that was, whether it was that day or subsequent day. But
When he showed you that email?
I don't think I've seen this email, but I'm not sure who showed it to me. I've got to say I have seen this email, but he told me about that because I don't recall a discussion around point 4, and that's my area about the leasing figures on those properties.
But in some way, he discussed with you a proposal that there would be directors' positions abolished.
Oh, I think it was more clear than that. He said to me that the mayor wanted to get rid of me and Michelle.
And that was completely new to you?
Well, by then I had heard that 2 directors were in the firing line, and I instinctively knew that one would be Michelle, and I suspected one might have been mine. But that confrontation where he said that included the discussion around who has to go.
You said that you'd heard 2 directors were in the firing line. When did you hear that?
I'm not certain. It makes sense that I had some sense of it before this meeting occurred then. Certainly it was confirmed after that meeting had occurred. I can't pinpoint when I heard, but I had heard some talk that the mayor was wanting to reduce the council by 1 or 2 directors. Perhaps John mentioned it to me, but I can't recall.
Now, in this discussion with Mr. Ajaka, either that day or a subsequent day, the particular words that he used in the meeting, did he discuss that with you?
I recollect he, just because everyone knew what he'd said, that he said that I lost my cool and I regret it. He did say he was generally regretting it. And then there was all that negotiation to try and get an apology, which I was on the periphery of.
that was going to be my next question. The inquiry heard evidence about, in particular, I think it was Councillor Goodman
That's right.
acting as some kind of conduit between the two gentlemen. Your peripheral role, what was it?
I was purely Mr. Ajaka telling me how those negotiations are going each time. Like, yeah, he was. So there's a bit. I've been in meetings for other reasons, and then other people have asked to leave, and he sort of talked to me about this situation, my unique understanding, and my understanding from Mr. Ajaka was that he used the term the goalposts kept being shifted, apology with conditions kept being. So he was trying to negotiate to go and sit down with the Mayor through Goodman. Goodman was intermediary, and each time there'd be a change in the apology, and it was not had conditions put on it, which Mr. Ajaka kept rejecting. Like, I think written apology, apology to council. They kept moving. Something to do with the media.
Something to do
With media, like a media release and Ray Hadley, I think it was, let Ray Hadley know, something like that. It just kept moving. So, I just sensed Mr. Ajaka's frustration. That would be my assessment of that. Yeah.
But your role seems to be more as a confidant to Mr. Ajaka.
A little bit at that time it was, yes.
While this is all occurring, is there still work on the budget?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think there was an ELT where Mr. Ajaka raised what had happened, and then we just kept getting on with the work we're doing. I mean, this led to, the Hoxton Park and that type of elements going into the budget. Mr. Ajaka was strongly of the view that the proposal to get rid of 2 directors and a whole lot of managers required a restructure. Yeah. So it couldn't just be done overnight.
In the lead up to the council meeting towards the end of April, was it your understanding that the apology had not been forthcoming?
My understanding was the apology hadn't occurred, that's right. Yes.
In the lead up to the council meeting at the end of April, was there any discussion, or were you part of any discussion about whether Mr. Ajaka should attend, where Mr. Ajaka should sit at the meeting?
Is this the council meeting, just from my memory, is this the council meeting where they went to closed session and then ultimately suspended him? So we all left the room, including John, and they had a long deliberation in there. And then when it finally broke, I'm not quite sure how in that sort of role as a confidant, I went round to, and a liaison between the mayors at times, I went round to the back passage to the kitchen, and the mayor and Councillor McDonald, who was deputy mayor, she was quite distressed, were there, and it was indicated to me, and I'm not sure if Jason had already been told, he may have been told, Jason Breton, that he was being suspended, and that they didn't want him to go back in the chamber.
Sorry, so you think Mr. Breton was already told that Mr. Ajaka was going to be suspended?
I think that's right. I don't think the mayor told me because I already knew when I went to them, and so then I went back and said to John, "Come with me. We'll go in the kitchen and have a talk to the mayor." And I've got to say, I was quite distressed, and I just said to the four of them, and me, four. I said, I wasn't a member of the party at that point, but I said, Liberals don't do this to Liberals. What are you doing? And then McNaught said, Liberals don't bully other Liberals, something to that effect. Anyway, so then...
Sorry, who said that?
Councillor McNaught, who was very distressed. And then it pretty much was clear that the mayor... They were indicating, and Jason was there, or came in there then, they were indicating he had to go. And I pointed out that legally, John was still the CEO, not even suspended, because of the council meeting in camera resolve something, it has to be reported in an open session to the public. That's when it becomes council position. So at that point in time, John had every right to sit anywhere he wanted in the chamber because he was still CEO. And my view, he had a moral right to be there to see, to look at the people who are going to do this to him. And so I pointed that out to them. I said, no, this is not legal yet. Mr. Britton, who's not from local government, didn't know that, and the mayor realised I was right. And then I think John had gone back out, and I said to them, I relayed to him, they don't want you in the chamber still. But I didn't say, I don't want you in the chamber. I just relayed it. And he said, oh, I'm going in there. And then there was some negotiation which I wasn't involved in, and then he stood behind the director's chair, didn't go up to the seat next to the CEO, next to the mayor. And then the resolution was read out to the council chamber and adopted or accepted. Yeah, and then it was binding. And then I sought leave of the council meeting and went and helped him, took him to his office.
You spoke at, I think, 2 times, your observation that Ms. McNaught was upset. Did she say why she was upset?
Oh, I think it's,
Did she say anything to you?
well, she said Liberals don't bully Liberals. She said that. So I think she felt, my interpretation was she was upset because she felt the whole process was very distressing.
The meeting commenced and there was a number of matters dealt with, and at that point the mayor was and Mr. Ajaka was sitting next to each other, you know, the usual table where the mayor and Mr. Ajaka
At the beginning of that meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
And it seems to have progressed for a period, and if you just had zoomed in and were watching it, it would appear that nothing was wrong.
Yes, and all the directors were relieved, sense of relief. It looked like things were going to be calming down and moving forward. It was a surprise to all of us, although certainly a surprise to me, that they suddenly moved in camera to deal with a confidential matter, which you know what that means straight away. I had no inkling of it before.
Now, after that meeting, Mr. Ajaka went on the leave. Did you realise that there was an inquiry by an organisation called WEA?
The resolution of the council was in camera. That was to have an independent inquiry into the allegations of workplace bullying, whatever it was. So I didn't know the company's name, but I knew that there was investigation underway.
You weren't interviewed for
No,
it?
no.
And ultimately, I think it was in the May council meeting, there was a termination of Mr. Ajaka's employment with court. So in substance, it was like a summary dismissal.
Yes.
Now, you continued working as a director and the budget was prepared and ultimately went before the council in June. In that period leading up to the budget in June, was there any further discussion of the rationalisation of the 2 directors, managers and possibly other staff?
Not really that I recall. At that point in time, we'd got the budget to the $3 million surplus position with the Hoxton Park sale added to it, and pretty much it was a budget that Jason's acting CEO had been sort of handed in its near completion. So I don't recall that, but there was still rumours swirling around about the future of City Futures and Michelle's position, and so that was always in the atmosphere, and it created a lot of instability in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What instability did it create?
Well, we had a workshop, an ELT workshop in Linnea, I think from memory, and Jason was acting CEO, and Michelle facilitated it, and we had to do the old-fashioned stick-it notes, a SWOT analysis of the organisation. So I was quite frank in terms of my view that a weakness or threat to the organisation was the instability of the structure and the constant churn of CEOs and churn of structure, because it takes. Look, I left a month ago and we're still bedding down the previous structure from 2 years ago, right, through the unions and so forth. It creates a lot of instability in the organisation to keep changing structures and leadership. So I put that sticker note up, and we had to explain our sticker note. So I got up and explained mine. And then Jason, as acting CEO, said, and I've got this in my diary notes because I was so offended, he said, "Oh, well, everyone knows that coming out of the Mayor's office is that City Futures will be abolished by September this year." And I took umbrage at that because it was more bullying of me, I thought. And obviously I relayed that back to some key managers in my team saying, if you're hearing about this, let me know. But yeah, that was just one example. And so it created instability.
That meeting where you put the sticky note up, when did that take place?
I would have to take that. It would be in my diary notes. I keep notes of key meetings. If you like, I can take that on notice. I can't recall.
And it was prefaced by the comment that City Futures will be abolished by September of next year. That followed on from
this year. September this year.
This year, sorry. That followed on from a comment about something about the Mayor's office?
Yes, as I said, everyone knows, hearing out of the Mayor's office that City Futures will be abolished by September.
Was that a meeting earlier in the latter part of, was that a meeting September 2024 you're speaking of, or September 2025?
24.
24.
And this meeting, therefore, would be Jason was acting CEO, it'd be post the budget. So I think you're talking probably
Post-budget, before
July,
election.
August, yeah. I could get the date.
Excuse me for a minute. Ultimately, with Mr. Ajaka's position, as I said to you in May, there was a resolution that his contract be terminated with cause. And then Mr. Ajaka took some legal action, which, and I'm just jumping over all the details, the Commissioner has heard a lot about it, but ultimately it led to a negotiated agreement or settlement of the dispute whereby he got a sum of money and also a substantial part of the legal fees that he incurred were paid by council as well.
Yes.
Earlier today, you gave evidence of when you were still in Parliament, when you heard that Mr. Ajaka had been appointed the CEO and Mr. Manoon was the Mayor. I think your comment was something along the lines of this is going to be interesting. Your prophecy was fulfilled.
Unfortunately.
Do you have any comment about, in particular, you've raised the instability in respect of the structure.
Churn of structures, yes.
But also part of that would be the removal of CEOs, quite a few over the period with Liverpool City Council. Could you expand further on the detriment that you saw within the organisation?
Well, I mean, to from self-interest, the abolition of city futures right now is, again, directing, prioritising the strategy of the council from what had been put in place 24 months ago. Barely enough time to bed it down. I was working on a project called Liverpool 2050, which I had to leave behind, which wasn't finished, and massive consultation of the community and stakeholders. I don't know where that's going now. That's a subject. There was a council resolution to do it, but the movement of staff around that happens in the restructures creates and change of directors inherently creates instability. I really felt myself that I was really in the saddle in that last 6 months to 12 months, really understanding my team, and they understood me and respected me. And I think that's replicated across the board when you keep changing CEOs and changing directors and rearranging the departments. Before the amendments happened to the Act, whereby council had no control over the structure, and I applaud those amendments. That happened when I was on contract as a senior policy advisor, right? The council still had control over structure. And the mayor, so I was advising John, and I was sitting in an office adjacent to the mayor. We're going to defer it, we're not going to do it. This was coming from the mayor. And he had a big whiteboard in his office. He was constantly rearranging the structure. And I just went into the mayor and said to him, I'm just thinking whether or not I was a director, but I went into the mayor and said to him, for God's sake, Ned, you've got to put it through tonight and not defer it, because while you keep deferring it, the whole organisation is on eggshells, holding their breath, not sure what the future holds for them, where they go. We've got recruitment issues, attracting quality people. Comes up all the time in interviews, the instability of the council. And I think, Mr. Mayor, you don't appreciate, which I do appreciate, so it makes me think I must have just been made a director. You don't appreciate the knock-on effect of delaying the restructures. And as I just said to you, 2 years and we're still beating down some of the ones from when I first became a director. A huge amount of consultation, position descriptions, union engagement, very strong union engagement, a lot of processes to go through to bed down the structure, let alone get on with the job of serving the people of Liverpool. And so I emphasise to you that the delays are having your vision for Liverpool, my vision, which was 2050, your vision for Liverpool, which he was embraced to, is being delayed because we can't get on with it, can't allocate the resources to it because of the delays in the structure. So, and they did put the structure through then. I'm not saying it was my not giving myself credit, but I just think part of the push on it. But now, of course, as we know, councils, following ICAC recommendations, councils don't have a say in the structure, just the budget. They have a say, but they don't have control of it. Yeah.
You spoke about the abolition of your directorate and also Michelle McVinnie's directorate. Could document INQ.004.001.0012 be brought up, please? Now, is that a document that you've seen which foreshadowed the abolition of your directorate, Michelle McVinnie's directorate, and then the reorganisation of I call them sections underneath each director?
So this was a PowerPoint that Craig Napick put up at the ELT meeting. Craig Napick was the Chief People Officer. And it was after I'd been put to me that I was to be made redundant. I had an option to take a redundancy. And I remember looking at that, and it was like looking at my funeral notice. I felt pretty aggrieved at the time. I was in quite a bit of shock about it all. Yes, so I'm familiar with that.
Before taking to it in more detail, you said that it had already been explained to you that your directorate was going to be abolished and that you had the option of taking a redundancy.
Yes, so I'd taken a week's leave, and other directors had been in with meetings with Jason as CEO now to discuss the future of the directorates and so forth. And I understand that Michelle had the conversation. So I came back from leave.
You remember when this was?
No, again, I could take that on notice. Sorry, it was. If you work backwards, I was notified. I accepted my redundancy in the beginning of June and was made redundant at the beginning of July. So I would say this was in May, late May, guessing. And so I was on leave, and then so I had a meeting on the Monday morning, I think it was, with Craig Napick and Jason Breton, where Jason expressed a view that what I did was very important, that I had a lot of support, but he's collapsing the directorates from 6 to 4, and that one the other director, and that there was no role for City Futures going forward. And the other director was Michelle McInerney. He indicated that there might be opportunity for contributing in the future, sort of a consulting role or something. But that there was a redundancy offer on the table, which was my contract, all per the contract. You know, the 36 weeks our contract had. I was under a contract system, not the award system.
You were under the old system where you'd been specified senior staff.
That's correct.
And you were employed under a contract.
That's correct. Yeah, and it was. I've got to admit, it was not compared to John and Jack. It was a generous situation. It was all my entitlements. So, and I said, I looked at that. It's pretty clear that I wasn't welcome there, and I said, I'll get back to you tomorrow. Then there was a meeting, an ELT meeting that afternoon, where the tune changed a little bit, and I've diarised this in the meeting, where basically Jason said, we're collapsing it to 4 directorates. We propose to amalgamate to 4 directorates. The 2 directors that are impacted, and Craig Napick was there then as well, and this was when this went up, is Mallard and Michelle. They've been advised. They're sitting right there. Well, she was on the phone. Actually, I think she was on leave. They've been advised. They can take a redundancy, or they can apply for one of the other 4 directorships. Mm-hmm. But if they do, all the 4 directorships will be spilled. So the people was massive to not to apply for another directorate. So that was pretty clear then that was the situation. And then there was discussion about Jason had taken a 10% pay cut and expected the remaining directors to take a pay cut. So I was pretty much in shock, and then I went home and I discussed it with my partner, and I said, that appears I'm not really welcome there in the work I do. And I had a huge successful report card of things I had done, including the top of the list was securing Wollongong University for all the commercial floors. Okay. So I delivered really well in that 18-month, 22-month period as a director. But I said, I've got to stay there if I'm not welcome, and clearly that's the situation. And behind the scenes, you think the mayor's not too happy about me being there either, or wants to reduce that. I confronted him about that too.
Well, can I just pause there?
Yes.
So you've given evidence about coming back from leave, and you think it was around May, and being told by Mr. Breton that the 2 directorates were going to be abolished. Then there was the ELT meeting where this proposed model was put forward. Mm-hmm. Jumping back to last year, where you learnt that it was flagged in that meeting, I think of the 14th or 16th of April, that the Mayor was looking at
Yes.
the budgeting for losing at least 2 directorates, and you and Michelle had been named.
Yes.
That seems to have been put to one side, and as you said, because of the proposed sale of 3 Hoxton Park Road, that appeared to then, as I said, put to one side. Did you, up until the time you left the council, did you have any discussion with the Mayor about your role and why he nominated your directorate in that meeting?
I was pretty disappointed that that had happened, right? It was no secret that he was no fan of Michelle's, right? But as I said, I had a good track record of what I was doing, and he bought into the vision. I mean, when I first talked to him about the role of City Futures, I said, Ned, you've been mayor now for quite a significant time. It's now time to create a legacy, not just, you mowed all the grass and you built it, but a legacy for the future of the city, because it's really powering on, in my view, Liverpool. I had heard that I had heard, not from John, although John said it later, from someone else, that he had nominated me, Michelle, and then when pressed by John in that meeting, he nominated me as the other director to go. I confronted him about that in a sort of a moment. To my mind, it seems to be like just sort of caught him in a corridor or something, or when at a council meeting or something. I can't remember exactly. It wasn't a formal meeting. I didn't make a meeting to go see him about it. And he said words to the effect to me, it's not personal, Shayne. It's not about friendship. It's about the organisation. Yeah.
The decision by Mr. Breton to abolish your directorate, was that ever explained to you why?
Only in the context of budget.
So it was saving money
Yeah.
to try and achieve the surplus.
Oh, well, Mr. Breton was fond of putting up a graph that showed the growth in salaries, and it was a big preoccupation of the Mayor as well, who believed we were all overpaid. So that view was, I remember that graph, we can pull down, the upward trajectory, but I remember him telling us about in 3 years' time we'd be back in the same spot.
You mentioned at this meeting there was a proposal that Mr. Breton would take a 10% cut. I don't know exactly how he did it, but he sort of indicated that he put that forward as part of his proposal to become CEO, part of his application or pitch to the council to become CEO. Did you also say there was some kind of proposal that the directors would take a cut?
Yes, Mr. Breton referred to haircuts, that all the directors had to take a haircut.
And your construction of a haircut was a cut in pay?
Yes, yes.
And do you know if that's occurred?
I only hear that there's disputes around it because the directors are all on contracts, as was I, and they've all now got more responsibilities. So but that's all I can say. I mean, I might leave that for you to ask Mr. Breton because I'm no longer there.
All right. Excuse me for a minute.
I mean, you'll note from this, one of the things that surprised me on this organisational layout is that most of my directorate went into the CEO's office in those grey boxes.
I was going to ask you about that. So you've got now 4 directorates, and then you've got the office of the CEO. And is it your understanding that commercial development, audit and risk, and city strategy and performance are now direct reporting to the CEO?
Yes, but audit and risk wasn't in my area. That was in Michelle's area. And then communications, which I had, is over in community services. There is the second one down the first column.
So what I might do is bring up another document, which it's our understanding this is the functional organisation structure that was adopted in June of this year, INQ.009.001.0033. Sorry. It might have just been sent that document. And I understand that we were provided with a hard copy of this document at the hearing on the 17th of July by the council. At page 524, yes, and if that can be live streamed. And that's got the same, I suppose, structure that we just looked at, in that the office of the CEO has those 3 areas or responsibilities, 2 of which were your responsibilities?
Yes, I haven't seen this before, but yes, and then city economy, Julie Scott's area is over in planning and design, second from the bottom, third column, and then communications, marketing and brand, which is an important department, although important, is the second one down in the first column. But stage 2 of the restructure is examining all those areas below the directorships.
And is it your understanding, when you say stage 2, was that in the email? Sorry, when you say stage 2, what do you speak about?
Well, it's always been referred to, and I think it's under the award, that has to be done this way. So the directorships were the first restructure, and whole business units were just moved into other areas. They couldn't be messed around with, because stage 1 is the directors, and then stage 2, which when I was at the council, it was proposed to commence that after the inquiry, so they could focus on after the inquiry, would be then the directors that survive and drilling down into their business units and determining, does that fit in this area or not?
Right. So in a way, the sections underneath the directorships, this may be an interim structure.
Yes. Like I don't see, I gave this feedback before I left, because I was aware of this. City economy shouldn't sit in planning and design. There's opportunities for conflicts of interest there. The city economy deals with property industry and all kinds of things, and that's the planning director there. So, you don't have them, you have protections about that. Yes. So city economy, in my view, should be over in the CEO. If you're going to have the CEO's office, I'd put it over there, because it's really important.
All right. And other than raising saving of money, has anything else been raised with you about why your directorate was earmarked for abolition?
Not formally, no.
Informally?
And colleagues were the view that the CEO didn't like me, so that was that.
Now, you spoke about one of the challenges to your directorate was that you had responsibility for leasing of civic place.
Yes.
Would you please bring up LCC.002.002.0088? LCC.002.002.0088. made it up? It's an Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting report on Civic Place.
Eric. They'll probably talk to you about seeing it.
That's why we're trying to find it. Would you attend the meetings of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee?
Yes, either in person or online.
And when you did attend, on occasion, did you provide reports to them about Civic Place?
Yes, George Comparis, who was in Michelle's area in audit and risk, he coordinated the reports that Eric wanted. And I inherited the situation that there was every Eric meeting had a report on Civic Place. I mean, Eric looks at risk, and Civic Place was a big risk. And so there was a report there. So I inherited that process. So started to review the reports and go through them and speak to them. We had a consultant, his name escapes me right now, who had been put on with the approval or with the knowledge, or I guess they don't have an approval role, but they were very comfortable that there was a property expert the council had put on a contract to work on the management of Civic Place, which I inherited that contractor.
Would you just excuse me? Oh, thank you.
On that document.
Tim Gavin's the person I'm talking about.
Could we just pause for a minute?
While that's happening, Mr. Mallard, do I understand that Civic Place was a standing agenda item at ARIC meetings?
Yes, and it still is at the moment, but pretty much concluded. Tail end of it now is about defects issues.
Now, you can see from the first page, this is a report by Tim Gavin, though authorised by you.
Yes, so he's the contractor I referred to.
Ah, right. And he's producing this report to the ARI committee concerning basically risks associated with Civic Place.
Yes.
And would you please go through to page 4?
This would have been probably the first report I had seen as a director.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Can we just take the document down, please, operator, for the moment? And then the live stream. Oh, it was never live streamed. Okay.
Gone now.
Yeah. I'm told it wasn't pushed to the live stream, so.
I think it was rather innocuous to begin with page 1. It may be page 4 where things...
Should we, can the concern be addressed by just having it in the room, Mr. Emmett, or is it something that you need some more time with?
Could we take a 5-minute adjournment or less? Can I just have a couple of minutes to understand the nature of the document and take instruction?
Of course. I won't leave the bench, but Mr. Mallard, feel free to stretch your legs for 2 minutes if you wish, or sit there if you wish, but we'll adjourn for just a few moments.
Mr. Mallard, you've given evidence that as part of your directorate, you were given responsibility for Civic Place and in particular leasing of any of the available floors that could be leased for commercial purposes.
Yes.
Now, the document that I've taken you to was a report in July 2024. The particular page that I'm taking you to indicated that, and this was page 4, at that particular time, there are references to certain organisations, but some of them there is that they have signed a heads of agreement. Others, there's that they're preparing a business case or they're considering going into a lease. And then there are at least 2, I'll call it 1 floor and one particular area where it seems that there really wasn't anybody on the horizon at that point. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And if I can just take you through this now, you can see that on level 2, there was at that stage a signed heads of agreement with the police.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Have they entered into a lease with the council?
Well, can I step back one step?
Yes.
This doesn't reflect anything at all that's going on in the building now. Right?
I'm sorry?
This does not reflect the commercial situation in the building today. Right? This was my first report. I will admit I was way under the water with regard to this big commercial building, and this was Tim Gavin advice on the leasing situation, but the outcome today is very different to that.
All right. What I was intending to do was to use that to prompt you to give evidence of what the position was when you left the council.
Okay.
And you left the council, was it at the end of June this year?
I'm doing your job, I'm sorry. Yes, I left the council end of June. 1st of July was my last day.
All right. Now, can I ask, with Civic Place, there are a number of floors which are occupied by the council.
Yes, so ground floor to 7 are all commercially available, inclusive, and then 8 to 11 is the council.
And they're obviously all occupied.
Yes.
When you left at the end of June this year, the commercially available floors, so ground to 7, were they all leased?
Yes.
So there is no available areas to be leased in Civic Place.
When I left, there's a 60 square metres, 100 square metres on the ground floor hidden in the back there that we're trying to do something with. That's all.
And that was an idea of having a coffee cart or something
No, the coffee
like
cart is on the ground floor,
Right.
which the DO has been finalised when I left to actually develop it into a proper cafe. This this space behind reception was to be the customer service centre, but Mr. Ajaka wanted it in the library. It's in the library, functioning quite well there. And so that space was redundant for that purpose, and it's not an attractive space to lease. So we're trying to work out what to do. In fact, we've got some architects in to do some plans to make it some meeting rooms, which we could hire out or use with the community. And I left.
So just summarising, the commercial areas, ground floor to 7, are all leased.
Yes.
And with a number of those tenants for relatively lengthy periods.
Yes. All the leases. So we contracted for procurement process for a property firm to represent, this is before I became a director, to do this work with us, and JLL got that award, and we worked, Steve Samat and the team and me, and JLL worked very closely together to resolve the problem we had with the building. So when I was a director, there was one tenant only that was moving in, which was St George Community Housing, which you see is level 4, and that was all the rest of this was speculative, and the police are there, so I could go for the floors if you like. Mezzanine, which is above 1, mezzanine 1, 2, 3, Wollongong University. 4 is St George Community Housing, 5 and 6 Wollongong University, and 7 is the New South Wales Police, and it's all leased. And JLL do report, because there's often misinformation around, oh, you know, you get too much incentive. Everyone's an expert in property, and I wasn't, but I quickly became one. But the JLL did reports on every single lease heads of agreement. They all went to council and confidential meetings, and a matrix is provided with comparable properties, CBD of Sydney right through to Penrith, floor space per square metre, percentage of incentive, outcome, and we were at the top of all of those because it's the only A-grade building in Liverpool and probably, I would say, southwest Sydney.
And when you say an A-grade building, what do you mean by
Well,
that?
real estate is categorised A, B, C in terms of
So that's a recognised
amenity.
real estate category.
That's correct, yeah. So 33 Moore Street's a B grade. It needs an upgrade. It's environmentally less sustainable. It's less attractive to work in. You know, this new building is just state of the art.
Now, I'm moving to another topic, but just before I do, can I take you back to your evidence about Mr. Ajaka and the termination of his employment?
Mm-hmm.
And I had asked you some questions about the April council meeting where the council had gone into a closed session and a decision was made that his employment would be suspended pending an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
I fast forwarded to May when at the council meeting there was, I think it was through a mayoral minute, that his employment be terminated with cause, which resulted in a summary dismissal, and other than any entitlements that he'd already accrued, he would not receive any payment. In the lead up to that May meeting, did you have a discussion with the mayor or the councillor or a councillor about what was happening with Mr. Ajaka?
Mr. Ajaka was still on leave at home, and I was contacting him regularly. I knew he was very distressed, and he wanted to come back. At that point, he wanted to come back into the role. The situation kept moving, and when they were going to make a decision on him, and of course, my understanding was that the independent review had not finished its work. So I felt natural justice said that should happen, that's my feeling, and report to the council. And then I thought pretty much that would clear it up, and move forward. But I got wind of the fact that the councillors were looking to dismiss him at that council meeting. I'm not sure how I got wind of it. But
I was about to ask that. How did you get wind of that?
we expected it to happen. Something was going to happen at any of the council meetings, and I really can't recall how I got wind of it, but I heard this was going to happen. I wasn't in contact with the mayor about it. He had really shut down, and I was quite isolated from him during this because I think you could see I was close to John as well. Mm-hmm. Then I reached out to the mayor, but he didn't return my text. Not uncommon. And then I bumped into Councillor Mel Goodman and said, "What are you guys doing today?" And he said, "Oh, we're..."
Can I just pause you? When you say, "What are you guys doing today?"
Yeah.
Was today the May meeting of the council?
Yeah. And he said, "Oh, we're getting together this afternoon. We're going to go through what we're going to do with John." And I put the case to Mel. I said, "Look, I tried to reach out to the mayor, but treat him with dignity and give him his entitlements so he can get on with his life, and he'll go." Because that's sort of the hint that John had given me that he just would move on. And Mel said, "I'll try my best." So fast forward a few hours. The council meetings, I don't want to be quoted on the time because I think that there was a 2:00 meeting. I remember it was very hot, and I was out the front of the council building, the library, and then Mel was out there with his cigar, having a cigar, and I looked at him, and he went like that across his neck.
All right. And
The cutting symbol across his throat, which to me meant that what I had suggested didn't happen. I said, what are you guys doing? And he said, I tried, but the mayor doesn't want to pay him out because we've paid out too many CEOs and the public perception of him paying out another one would be negative. I looked at him in disbelief and he said, he can go to court and get his money. That's what he said. So in my view, that was a strategy.
Commissioner, I'm moving to a different topic, but it's a topic which involves an ex-employee of the council, and some confidential information will be raised about that person, and I would seek for this evidence to be given in a private session.
All right. Is there any difficulty with those in the room remaining in the room? All right. Pursuant to section... I'm sorry, should I also make a non-publication order over this portion of the transcript
Yes,
at the same
please.
time?
Yes.
Pursuant to section 12B, subsection 2 of the Royal Commissions Act, I direct that the next part of this hearing take place in private session. I also direct, pursuant to section 12B, subsection 1, that the transcript of the private session of the inquiry not be published other than to the legal representatives of the authorised parties with the usual council qualifier attached, and we'll go into private session. All right, we're back in public.
Commissioner, that finishes that discrete part of the evidence where we moved into a private session.
Yep.
I have a couple more topics for Mr. Mallard, and I would anticipate some of the other parties will have questions of him. The way that we are progressing, there is one witness, Emily Tinson, who's a current employee of the council. We were quite keen to get her evidence finished tomorrow.
Yes.
Because she has some other commitments when we return. What I propose, if Mr. Mallard's evidence could finish now, and if he could then return on our first day, which I think is about the 18th of August, and tomorrow we will hear evidence from Ms. Tinson.
All right. Yes, I mean, I don't have a difficulty with that. Mr. Mallard, you've heard that. We'll have to get you back. Before I let you go, though, today, can I just ask you a couple of things?
Sure.
In case I forget, 10 days or so time. Earlier this morning, when Council Assisting was asking you about the budget process, and you were drawing a distinction between your experience at South Sydney and then the City of Sydney and what you'd experienced at Liverpool, you made an observation concerning revenue pressures that Liverpool was facing. In my note, it was cost shifting and rate pegging. Can you just expand on what you had in mind when making that observation?
Well, in the bigger picture, I think local government is under a lot of pressure, and potentially a breaking point at some areas, and particularly the growth areas, the new growth areas, because the council lack of resources to deliver infrastructure, like just curbs and roads and gutters, particularly parks. I had that design of parks in my area for a while, and they just don't have the resources to do that. The community has an expectation that that will be delivered. They put a lot of pressure on the council and the councillors to deliver it. So the issue is rate pegging, which is barely at CPI. As we know, after COVID, material costs went through the roof. There's no recognition of that in any revenue in terms of rates. And of course, the community pushes back on rate increases anyway, as you saw for like North Sydney recently. So there's that. There's expectation for councils to do more than the old-fashioned rates, roads and rubbish, they're expanding into other areas. As we saw, like creek rehabilitation, land care type areas, all kinds of things that require more resources, and all that stuff's funded usually by grants, trying to get grants, and I had the grants team. And then, so that's the two pressures. The revenue sources are very restricted to rates, and I think from memory, we're supposed to try and retain rates within, well, don't quote me, but it's either 60% or something like that of the revenue, and you need to identify other.
You're talking about the OLG performance ratios?
Yes, the fees and charges, parking meters, and then entrepreneurial things like commercial property. That's where councils are more and more going, trying to find revenue. And then, as I said, there's this pressure, growing pressure for more services to be delivered by the council to the community. So that's the two pressures. And in growth areas, it is much more a greater pressure. And we got a growth. So IPART, the independent pricing body, takes submissions and sets the rates for councils. Sets the rates and councils adopt it, right? No council's rejected, as far as I know, an IPART recommendation. And IPART did agree for the growth councils, including Liverpool and Campbelltown and Wollondilly and Camden, which are massive growth councils, even more than Liverpool. Liverpool's growing really fast. An extra few percentage on top to help them fund the delivery of infrastructure in growth areas, but still not enough.
What's an example of cost shifting that you had in mind?
Well, when I was in government, we reformed the Crown Lands Act with the ability to transfer the management and development opportunities in Crown land to the councils more, because a lot of parks, Hyde Park here in Sydney is Crown land, it's not council owned. A lot of parks are Crown land and the care and control of the council. But there were so many restrictions on it, it couldn't even open. So Big Park in Liverpool, which is the main park in the CBD, is Crown land. To put a cafe in there, we had to virtually go to the minister to get approval to put a commercial use in there. So the legislation changed to allow that, but you had to go back to every single parcel of Crown land and redo a Crown land plan of management, which is very expensive. So I had plans of management in my area underneath my community consultation. You've got to go out on exhibition, you've got to have independent review. It costs a lot of money, it takes a lot of time. And meanwhile, you can't do anything. So all that cost shifting came onto the council to review all their Crown lands. So that's just one example. In the press recently, the council elections, and it's a bit controversial, Liverpool, because they use the independent company, but they're going up in costs all the time. Councils have to run these elections and pay for them, but they don't get the revenue from all the fines that are issued for people who don't vote. The state government keeps all that, right? At least council gets the parking fine revenue after the state takes its cost part out of it in all councils except for the CBD of Sydney. But even then, Liverpool Council has 6 ranges for 240,000 residents and a whole lot of villages, so but not very effective.
And how did those revenue pressures affect the budget process in your observation?
When I was there in 12, 14, and Farooq was the CEO, the budget, there wasn't that level of consultation with the councils. In fact, I was critical of it. And the budget came to the councillors pretty much fait accompli, but it always had a nice little surplus, a couple $1 million. But when I came back this time, I was shocked that they were struggling they couldn't get a surplus, largely because of servicing the debt on the new building was holding
the civic place debt?
Yes. And, we were talking before that the revenue's already starting to come in, but most of the revenue will start clicking in July 1 next year. 2 years later than expected, but COVID was one of the big reasons. The Wollongong universities walked away because of COVID. They came back later. So I think that, in all fairness to the council, was an unexpected, like everyone's dealing with COVID, outcomes afterwards. unexpected setback on their revenue expectations, but it will come online largely July 1 next year.
And is it the challenge or the revenue pressures are taken up in the budget process, trying to do as much as the council can strategically, operationally, with a limited ability to generate more income?
Yes, and councils that stick their neck out like Liverpool did in terms of building that building, which maybe in 10 years' time will be a significant revenue contributor once they get that debt down, take a great risk, and you'll see councils falling over all the time with these sort of ventures. And they're not encouraged.
But until it gets to that stage, I take it there's a period of careful management and observation that's required.
Yes, and again, increasing population, increasing pressure on council to deliver services. I mean, our biggest complaint, not through customer service, because there's two different, but biggest complaint through councillors and through social media is what cutting the grass. And Liverpool, I don't have the figure, but up thousands of acres of
Lots of grass.
park. When I was there in 12 to 14, prisoners, people in correctional orders, community service were part of our team. Mow the grass and look after the...
Part of council core function, I suppose.
Yeah. But that, and the CEO and the mayor of the view that the restructure, the round two, there's $2 million in the budget this year for redundancies. So the view is there's going to be more job losses if you've got that in the budget. But their view is those job losses were redeployed in frontline workers, which is yellow vests mowing grass.
All right. All right. Well, that completes your evidence for the moment, and we'll see you again on the, remind me of the date, 18th of August.
Right.
But you're free to go for the moment. Thank you for your attendance and attention today, and I'll see you again on the 18th.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Is there anything else to do this afternoon?
No, thank you.
All right. If that wording of the order could perhaps be ready to go first thing in the morning, and if there's a list of any other orders people want varied, if that could be communicated to the assisting team so I can do it in a job lot in the morning, I'd be grateful. You want to start at 10 or?
May I inquire through you, Commissioner? I know it's difficult without hearing her evidence.
Yes.
But may I inquire whether parties anticipate many questions for Ms. Tinson?
I suppose that's
I know it's...
challenge. No one will be bound to any utterance that follows, but sitting as we sit today, does anyone anticipate needing long with Ms. Tinson, accepting that the position will change and there will be no criticism if it does?
Yeah, for my part, don't anticipate it, cannot say, can't go beyond that, but... Of course. Yeah.
It's all understood on that way. All right. Okay.
Could I suggest a 10 o'clock start?
Yes.
But if it looks as if we're running out of time, if we could have a shortened lunch break and maybe go past 4.
I'm entirely happy to accommodate whatever is sensible. Just liaise with your colleagues. If there's a problem, just let me know. 10 a.m. tomorrow?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.